You got to wait for a gapper.
That is fair down the right field line. Giambi on his way to third. And they're going to wave him around. The throw misses a cutoff man. Shot into the plate. Out of the plate. Derek Jeter with one of the most unbelievable plays you will ever see by a shortstop.
Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman.
Casey, you okay? I mean, I'm waiting for the actual intro, and there we are on camera. Felt like I was back doing the Reds again.
The intro was playing. It's on your computer.
No, it came up on the screen in front of me.
Okay.
Don't bail him out.
Yeah.
You guys are talking about women's basketball gambling a little while ago. Good Lord. Good morning. Good morning. Where is that coming from?
No, that was Brandon. You're good.
Was that Brandon?
Yeah, you're good.
Boy, we're off to a rip-roaring start here today. Oh, good morning. Welcome to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We come your way Monday through Friday, 10 to noon Eastern Time. You can find us on YouTube/Chatterbox Sports. We ask you please subscribe to the program. We also stream on Facebook. That is the Chatterbox Sports page. If you prefer to join us in podcast form, just search Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman, and you are dialed in. All right, Bengals on the practice field in just a little while, getting ready for Sunday's showdown in Buffalo. Brian Callahan, the offensive coordinator, laid all to rest about the left tackle position for the AFC semifinal. It's Fairfield native Jackson Carman. Wisely, he's been getting a lot of reps at the position since Jonah Williams originally dislocated his kneecap, though he didn't miss any games. Williams, of course, suffered the same injury last week against Baltimore. The Bills, meanwhile, had a walkthrough practice yesterday. They have a number of players on the injured list, including starting safety Jordan Poyer with a knee. He's expected to go on Sunday, kickoff from Orchard Park at 3 o'clock. Elsewhere in the NFL, Jim Schwartz is back where it all began, Cleveland. He's a team's new defensive coordinator. Schwartz got his start in coaching with the Brownies back in the early 1990s. Imagine, he worked alongside in Cleveland in those days with Nick Saban and Bill Belichick. Schwartz was a part-time coach last year in Tennessee. He was unable to be a full-time coach the last couple of years due to a thyroid condition. But now he's back and ready to improve a Cleveland defense that clearly underachieved last year. That guy knows defense. He knows defense. Brandon Staley is staying on as head coach of the Chargers, although he will have a half a dozen new coaches next season after the offensive staff was pretty much gutted yesterday, including offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi and quarterback coach Shane Day. Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell was non-committal about the future of his defensive coordinator, Ed Donatelli. That was at a season-ending news conference yesterday. Minnesota was eliminated Sunday as a number 3 seed by the 6-seeded New York Football Giants. College news. After Garrett Riley left TCU to become offensive coordinator at Clemson over the weekend, Sonny Dykes wasted no time in naming a top replacement. Art Briles has been the offensive coordinator at Arkansas the last 3 years, but now a Horned Frog. Dykes and Briles worked together years ago on the same offensive staff at Texas Tech under the late head coach Mike Leach. College basketball last night. Paul, what in the world?
Missed layups. Yeah, it wasn't a good night. Perfect storm of bad things happened last night for Xavier. And, it happens. Move on.
It does. I mean, we all forget. These are 18 to 21-year-old young men. Xavier ranked in the top 10 this week for the first time in years. went on the road and lost to an 8-10 DePaul team, 73-72 the final. The Muskies shot 38% from the field, 4 for 20 from 3. And their winning streak ends at 11 straight. Xavier plays Georgetown Saturday at the Cintas Center. UC, meanwhile, playing good basketball. Bearcats get an 85-69 rout at South Florida. UC is now 14-6. They've won 8 of their last 10. What in the heck is going on here? No, we're not answering it. Good Lord. Next up, Memphis. That'll be at home on Sunday. Huggy Bear and West Virginia jump all over number 17 TCU, 74-65, the final in Morgantown. The Mountaineers' first win in the rugged Big 12 Conference. And just for Casey, tonight Cleveland State is at NKU. Norse are 11-8, 6-2 in the Horizon League. That's good enough for a 4-way tie for first place with Cleveland State, Milwaukee, and Youngstown State. Coach Horn, one of our favorites.
Big weekend for the Norse. They have 4 home games in a row now, and they have the last 7 of the last 8 games are on the road. So if you want to win the Horizon, you got to win these next 4.
Well, I am very glad that you filled Casey in on that, Paul, because he has no idea what the hell is going on at his alma mater.
It's all right, Casey.
He didn't even know a player's name.
I'm here for you, Casey. Don't listen to Thom. We got you. I got you. If you're on an island, I'm there with you.
Thank you, Paul. I can always depend on you.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah. I know who Drew McDonald was.
There we go. That counts.
What?
See?
You couldn't name it. We knew who it was.
See? Don't listen to this. I hear something coming over here from the right.
Listen, I know I have not given NKU the respect it deserves. I will be better. I will be better, Norse Nation.
What's up?
Sound like Tim Tebow in that speech. Nobody will lead Norse Nation better than I will the rest of this season.
I mean, even Sir Boy Wonder says, and he's normally a very forgiving sort, he says Casey is slacking. It's your alma mater. I talk about my alma mater every game they play, good, bad, or indifferent.
I know. It was different when I was able to watch every game. And now I can't watch
Now
every
you're
game.
watching women's basketball and gambling on it. That was a conversation we had, and I mean, look, if you want to look up, and I have to clean up my language for this, okay, from earlier here in the studio. If you look up the word degenerate, and I had used the term blanking degenerate, okay, you fill in the blank, in the dictionary, there would be a picture of you guys gambling on women's college basketball.
No, I mean
you have got to be kidding me.
I don't. I can't. Because I work in it.
It's European League women's basketball.
Brandon
It's
gambled.
It's what?
Brandon gambled on European.
I had heard Paul had used the example of Creighton v. Providence. So that was women's college. I love women's college basketball. I was at one of the all-time great girls coaches here in the region for years. Won a city championship with 8 players. But you guys are talking about European women's professional basketball gambling. Are you kidding me?
Well, that's what Brandon was on while we were at lunch yesterday. What I was saying, which I can't do, which I cannot do because I work in it, but I do look at it and follow it, is that there are you can look at women's basketball lines and they're consistently way off. And like, if you're just talking about making a profit, like everybody's here to make a profit. They're not close. The lines are never close to what actually happens on the court. So there's that. Look, Casey was up 11 units yesterday. Again, that's 33 units in the last 2 days.
How much money is that?
I wouldn't press Casey on that, but that's. I mean, hey, if you're betting $100 a unit,
He's not betting 100 a unit.
that's right. He's betting 1,000.
Wow, look at that face. Haven't seen that.
Sharp better over here.
Wow. All right. Coming up today, we're going to welcome back our buddy Zim Hude. He's been kind of, floating around in Never Never Land. He was expelled for a while from Twitter. It was ridiculous. He was agitated with a bunch of Cleveland fans going way back to the Halloween game. He gets suspended from Twitter for a while, but now he's back. Him and his main man, Ace Boogie, win Cincinnati. He's going to join us at 11 o'clock. Best 30 minutes in television twice a week, The Tracer. You have anything on your mind for The Tracer, just as a little tease here today? Casey, anything come up with Alex about the wedding, parking, flowers?
No, nothing about the wedding. But I am kind of curious on how he feels about us betting. I don't think we ever really asked him how he feels about us betting at all.
Tracy strikes me as somebody that either bets a lot or hates it with a passion. There's no middle ground. There's no like, oh, I threw $100 on the Bengals this weekend. Tracy strikes me as somebody that either gets in the weeds with everything or has never put anything in his life.
Would you know?
Comment?
What do you? Well, you know him better than we do. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure what to think. I just want to hear. I'm interested in Casey and what happens after we have these conversations with Tracy. Do you actually go back home in your new house out in Mason, and the two of you are huddled up there together having dinner, maybe, getting ready to watch a show, doing errands around the house, whatever it is? Are you, if she's unable to watch, sometimes she can, sometimes she can't, are you actually having these conversations with her?
Of course. That's great advice.
Oh,
That's great advice. I got to at least lay it out on the table for her.
There we go.
Brian in the chat says Tracy doesn't throw away money gambling.
It's because he's smart.
He's smart.
He probably makes money gambling. He's not throwing it away when you're going to win responsibly.
Okay. All right, today, until we have Zim at 11 o'clock, and tomorrow we have picks. We're going to be joined by Sam Monson from Pro Football Focus tomorrow to talk about really, inside some of the numbers. They grade out every player, pro and college, at each position, every single game throughout the year and the postseason, and talk about some of the matchups. Really get into the X's and O's of football tomorrow. And we have our picks tomorrow as we're down to the final weekend of having the chance to make up some ground. I've been eliminated. Casey still has a chance. We'll do all that tomorrow. But we're going to get into some of the games this weekend, okay? It's going to start off on Saturday, and that'll be Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth. Jags v. Kansas City, second time they met this year. Giants and Eagles, third time they've met this year. The Eagles have won both games, one in a rout. The other was pretty much like a preseason game because it didn't mean anything the last game of the year, except for the fact that Jalen Hurts came back and played in that game, and Philly was able to win and nail down the number one seed. Then, of course, you have the Bengals v. Buffalo. Sunday afternoon, the nightcap Sunday, Cowboys at the 49ers. And that one will be on Fox. All right, let's start, gentlemen, with the Jags and Chiefs. It's a foregone conclusion that everybody around here is clearly rooting for the Kansas City Chiefs to lose. And digging around on some of the things in this game, it is, to me, the most important part of this, outside of Mahomes turning it over 4 times or, something like that, out of the ordinary. Jacksonville has made a habit, and we saw it last week, when they fell behind 27-0 with 2 minutes left to go in the first half. They go down the field, they score a touchdown to get on the board. They rally, as we know. Monster second half from Trevor Lawrence, and they win the game. But in the first half this year, they are one of the worst first half teams in the league from a point differential standpoint. Second half of games, they are among the very best. They're almost plus 70 in the second half. They have had this year at least 2 score deficits in 5 of their 10 wins, including the playoff game last week. Now, we both know, all of us, they have 0 chance if they fall behind to Kansas City, unlike the Chargers. You fall behind 17-0, 20-0, 27-0, it ain't happening.
Well, is that the case? I mean, we thought the same thing about the Bengals, and they did it twice.
This is the Bengals.
This
is not. I mean,
but
we're talking Jacksonville. You think they can go into Kansas City?
I think they do it a different way. Yes. Yeah, I think they can go into not Jacksonville. I think they can go into Kansas City, and I think they can actually come away with a win. But they gotta play it their way. It's gotta be a game where they don't make any mistakes.
Yep.
They don't get down early. To be fair, I think they could come back if they do get down early, but I don't think that they will be able to keep up with Kansas City in that offense. I think if they keep everything in front of them,
Yep.
and they're able to pressure Mahomes, if they get out to an early lead, I think that they have a good chance.
Well, I think they have a chance in the game. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. The point that I was asking you was if they fall behind 17-0, 20-0, they're not going to come back and shut out or shut down Kansas City and hold them to 3 or something in the second half and then rip off 27 points again. That's the only point I was making. I'm with you. I think they got a chance to hang in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I won't ever say they can't come back because the Chiefs have done it. They've given up big leads before. So to me, I won't say never, but it's very unlikely that the Jaguars would win that way. But they've done it multiple times this year. So they're able to do it. It's capable of them to do it. But a lot of things would have to happen. A lot of circumstances would have to go their way for it to happen. And that's just how comebacks normally happen, right? And Trevor Lawrence, I think, is a capable enough quarterback. I think they got plenty of weapons to be able to do it. It's more going to be a question about whether they can slow down Mahomes or not. And to me, they've got the defensive line to pressure him enough. They've got Josh Allen, and they've got their first-round draft pick, Walker or whatever is Travion Walker or whatever his name is. Those two are really good tandem together. They've got a stout enough defense to stop the run when the Chiefs are going to try to run the clock down. And to me, I think they actually, when you look at the Jags, they are a poor man's Bengals. If you look at them holistically from last year, they're a poor man's Bengals.
It's a good analogy.
They really are. Just look at the stats.
Poor man's Bengals. I like that.
They've got a really good quarterback time to time. Our quarterback, I feel like, is more on it.
Yep.
They've got a trio of weapons with Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, and Zay Jones. I think those are all poor man's Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. And they've got a
really poor man's.
Really poor man's. And they've got a really young, good running back, Travis Etienne. I think that would be
excellent
a poor man's.
Player.
Joe Mixon. And then you look at their defense, they don't really have a great secondary, but they've got the guys, the front seven. And they don't have like a DJ Reader, but they're stout. You just look at the stats, they're really stout in the run game. So to me, I won't say that they can't do it, but
Jags money line from Casey McAllister right there.
I really like the Jags.
You're cheerleading, Casey.
No, I'm not cheerleading. I
you
like
don't
them.
really believe the Jaguars are going to go.
I like them
can
to
they?
cover.
Of course they can. You don't really believe that they are going to go into Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes. You don't really believe they're going to Kansas City and winning that game.
No, I like them to cover for sure.
All right.
What is it right now?
Right now, it's 44% of the bets are on the Jags, but 89% of the money is on the Jags.
It'll be the sixth time Patrick Mahomes is favored by more than a touchdown in a playoff game. The Chiefs are 4-1 overall and 3-2 against the spread in the last 5.
And something that's really telling is that they have the total of the game at 52.5. So they think the Jags can score, at least.
Or they think the Chiefs
Or it's
can
49-7.
Oh, come on. They're not gonna blow out the Jags.
Jay Morrison, by the way, from The Athletic, who joined us last week, he is the only member of the Athletics football staff where there's 9 of them, I think, where they make their pick, and they're making it with the spread. He is the only one to pick the Jaguars.
To win or to cover?
To cover. Paul, your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to win by 1 million. I think the Chiefs win this running away. I think this is a game that you can turn off at halftime. Then again, I said that against the Dolphins and the Bills last week. But the one thing about this game, though, that's intriguing to me is that it's on Saturday at 4:30. So the Bengals are going to have an idea. If the Jaguars did do something stupid and win this game, the Bengals would know on Sunday. It's not like this game. It's not like the Chiefs game is after the Bengals game.
Yep.
And the Bengals would land back in Cincinnati and they'd see the score in the third quarter and go, oh, are the Jaguars going to pull this off? They'd know on Saturday. Oh, if we win tomorrow, we play at home next weekend to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and to me, the one thing that I like about the Jags is the argument of what have you done for me lately? And what they've done for you lately is gone 8-2 or 8-3 to finish the season, or to.
Well, they finished. I think they've won 7 of their last 8, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, and to me, you would rather be hot than.
But in all fairness, now, let's consider the competition. Okay, They were playing against divisional teams in 3 of those games, and their division's off. But nobody and his brother thought they would beat the Chargers, or at least a lot of people didn't. And even fewer people thought they were going to beat the Chargers when they fell behind 27-0. And they did. And I really like Peterson. I just think he's an excellent coach for the life of me. And look, it's turned out to be just fine in Philadelphia. But the guy won a Super Bowl there, and I just couldn't believe they pulled the trigger on him and cut him loose.
Can I push back just a second on the Chiefs-Jags game for a second? Because they played each other.
Yes,
I just now looked at it. They played each other. And it was a 27-17 game. And it wasn't close. The score is misleading. The Chiefs were up early on them, and then they came back and scored late.
But correct me if I'm wrong here, because I was having this conversation with our son today, Luke, about this game. All right? Mm-hmm. The first time they played, look it up, because he told me this on the phone as I was driving in. I think the Chiefs turned the ball over 3 times in the game, which allowed Jacksonville to then, as you just pointed out, make it a closer game than it actually was. I think Mahomes, he said,
they did.
Rare for him, throw 2-3 picks in a game, something like that.
Mahomes threw 1 interception, and then they had 2 fumbles.
Yeah, so they turned it over 3 times.
Yeah. Now, I get that, but you look at the rest of the Jags schedule, and I know they played their division again, but they beat the Ravens. They beat –
without Lamar.
No, that was with Lamar.
Oh, okay. All right.
That was with Lamar. Okay. And then they beat the Cowboys.
Yeah, they did beat the Cowboys. That was that crazy 40-something game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to me, those are 2 really good barometers of measurement.
They are. I can't argue with you on that.
So to me, maybe the Chiefs' offense is too much for them to handle, but I do like them to at least be competitive and potentially cover in this game. I won't go out on a limb and say that they'll win it. But I do think that it'll be a lot closer than people are saying. The best example I can give right now is everyone said Miami and Buffalo was going to be a blowout. And this is 2 teams that are – it's not even the same circumstance. It's the Jags with a competent quarterback back there. Their offense is healthy. Their defense is healthy. I don't see why everyone thinks it's going to be a blowout. But that's just me.
Okay.
What? Okay. Let's establish this now then, so that we don't backtrack ourselves on Monday. Is 27-14 a blowout? Like, are you going to say if
in the divisional round of the playoffs, 27-14 is a blowout?
Yeah. Like if we're sitting here on Monday and we're like,
a touchdown. A touchdown is
if
what
they
I
cover.
expect.
If they cover, you think the Jags are going to cover?
Yeah.
All right. That's fair.
And like right now, Betfred has it at 9.
Okay.
And I think they cover. I think they get it within a touchdown or 4 points.
If it stays at 9 and the Chiefs cover, is that a blowout?
I will say it's a blowout in my book.
Okay.
Just to be on brand.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
That's fine. That's good.
Jags got a good team. I mean, not going to take anything away from them, especially after a terrible start to this season. Nobody gave them a chance to get in the playoffs. I think they were 2-4 or 2-6, something like that, and they got in. They won their division. Bad division, albeit, but somebody's got to win the division. That's the way it stacks up. We have our picks tomorrow. All right, now we move to the second game on Saturday. That will be a night game, and that will be the New York Football Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles. We talked earlier. The big concern here for the Eagles is the health of the starting quarterback, Jalen Hurts. He's only played in one game since he got injured back in early December, and that was the aforementioned Week 18 game against these Giants. They just got him on the field. He was clearly not at 100%. He's had now 2 weeks to get healed up. When Hurts was healthy and they played the Giants early in the year, the Eagles massacred the Giants, put 48 points on them. Now, in fairness, it wasn't the same Daniel Jones back then for the G-Men. You're a guy, Paul.
Danny Dimes.
You're a guy. Daniel Jones. I mean, he's been on a roll, right? And the one thing Jones does do, arguably better than any quarterback in the NFL, is he takes care of the ball. He's thrown 5 interceptions the entire year. He's only thrown 1 in his last 7 games. And the Giants can run the ball. Saquon Barkley and Danny Dimes. All right, Paul, your thoughts. We'll start with you this go-round. Giants v. Eagles for the first time in the postseason, third time overall this year.
Look, we talk about these teams that play each other a lot and what can they do when they finally see each other again. I'm not going to say that the Giants are going to win this game, but I think 7.5 in this game, my guy. Now, this is where I sometimes have to separate, again, the joke from what I'm actually going to think on this game. I do like Daniel Whoa. I just called him by his nickname. I was going with his real name, though. I do like Daniel Jones better than I think a lot of people do, but I'm not going to sit here and say that he's going to beat the Eagles in prime time in Philadelphia. Philadelphia's had a lot of mojo this year. When you look back to baseball, you look at what everything's done with football. I mean, everything's been rolling Philadelphia's way. I know they didn't win the World Series, but a lot of things have been breaking Philadelphia's way this year. I do think the Eagles win and cover this game. As much as I would like Danny Dimes to have himself a night, I would like it even more if it got under a touchdown, but I still think that this is the Eagles' chance to really prove themselves after everybody's, what are they? They get the bye. What are they? This is what they are. I think they win this by 8 or 10.
Look, wouldn't you really like to know how healthy Hurts is?
That's true.
And we're not going to find out. They're not going to come out and tell us ahead of time whether it's a coach or whether it's Hurts going to come out and say, well, we think he's at 75%. We're not going to know that until they get on the field. And I got to tell you, I can't remember the exact quote, but they asked the Giants defensive coordinator about the run game of Philadelphia. And he pretty much, just said, hey, they got no home run hitters over there. When Philly has been at its best in their recent playoff games over the last number of years, you've got a bunch of guys that come out of nowhere and have monster games running the football. Now, whether that happens this week against the Giants, I don't know. Casey, your thoughts? Giants v. Eagles.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this really quickly. The Giants' defensive front seven is really good, really, really good. And they got blown out of the water against the Eagles.
Yep.
And they ran all over the place. They just got bullied. Now, there is a few circumstances here that might change this game. One, Lane Johnson is not playing. He's hurt. And the fact that Jalen Hurts, we don't know the status of his injury. It could be that it's still lingering, and my guess is that it is. He had a 300-pound man land on his shoulder. So I'm going to assume that he's still got a lingering problem there. In order for the Giants to even have a chance in this game, Kayvon Thibodeau is going to have to ball out. And in the playoffs, I mean, he did decently. I don't think he was the main sole reason why they won the game. I thought it was more against the Vikings. I thought it was more because of Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence. They were able to get after Kirk Cousins and make him uncomfortable. This is going to be a really tough uphill battle for the Giants. I mean,
got to tell you though, Lane Johnson's a big hit for Philly. Seems like the guy's always hurt when they need him. I hate to say it because he's a good dude. And he cares, passionate guy, been a really good player in this league for a long time, but he is hurt all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the difference to me. I mean, the Eagles cannot afford to go down early in this game, in my opinion. This feels like a trap game for them. They've had a week rest. A lot of the number one seeds in the recent memory have done really poorly after their bye week. And this, to me, is no different. This is against a divisional opponent. Both of them are going to be going at and after each other. I will say this. I don't think the Giants win. The line is at, 7.5? I believe it's at 7.5 right now. It might be 8. I think if they want any chance of covering, like I said, Thibodeau is going to have to just be a monster and a bully that right side, right? Lane Johnson's right tackle, I believe. So, yeah, that's my take on the game. I just don't see how the Eagles can lose, though. I mean, their interior is able to neutralize Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence. Those two are really good players, but Kelsey and the other, I can't remember his name right now, but the one of the Eagles' other really, really good offensive linemen, they just seem to do really well, and they're able to get a lot of push, able to run the ball, and I think that plays into the Eagles' strengths. So,
well, Kelsey, by the way, you mentioned his name, and his brother obviously gets all the pub. They both grew up in Cleveland, obviously both went to the University of Cincinnati, but what a career Kelsey has had in Philadelphia. I mean, he has been a great player. Pro Bowler again this year. For a long, long time, he's seen the good and the bad. He is, without question, the biggest leader that the Eagles have on that team. And I'm with you. I just think that – but again, I mean, I keep saying I think Philly's going to win. But the quarterback's got to be healthy. And you could say that with every team. But Hurts' style of play, can he throw the ball down the field? Can he run? Can he take a hit? That's a big, big, big deal. All right. Bengals v. Bills. Now, if you look at it objectively, and there's no chance that Casey will do that. We preface all of that by saying it. And we love Casey for it. Both teams are coming off games they could have easily lost in the opening round of the playoffs, right? I mean, the miracle play by Hubbard with help from Pratt and Wilson. Ravens were going in for the go-ahead score there in the fourth quarter. Bengals easily could have lost that game. Buffalo, right? You get Josh Allen. He throws 2 picks. He fumbles 3 times in the game. One of those fumbles was run in for a touchdown by Miami. Miami starting a third-string quarterback. Buffalo could have easily lost that game. But the bottom line is, and all that matters, of course, they both won. You come into this game, and if you start to go, defensive line, match them up. Offensive line, match them up. We go right down the list. We will tomorrow in every category there is. One area outside of one team just turning the ball over a bunch of times and it turns into a disaster for one team or the other, right? Burrow throws 3 picks. Allen fumbles twice, throws 2 picks. Outside of something like happening, and for Burrow, that would be a bigger stretch clearly than Allen, who has been very sloppy with the football all year long, and we've talked about it on this show all year long. He is very sloppy with the ball at times, but when he's on his game, arguably the best guy in the league. The red zone is an area where, in my book, you guys may disagree. In my book, if you take the turnover factor, and we've talked about this statistically, week in and week out, year after year after year. If you only look at the turnover battle, just those numbers inside of an NFL game, you can decide who the winner is just by looking at which team turned it over the least. So we're going to take that part of it out. Red zone is where the Bengals, both on offense and on defense, are as good as it gets. Doesn't have to be if the Bills get in the red zone 4 times, and they're probably going to get in the red zone 4 times. They'll move the ball up and down the field. If they get in the red zone 4 times, you got to hold them to 2 touchdowns. Bengals get in the red zone 4 times, you got to get minimum 3 touchdowns playing on the road. To me, that's a difference in the game. And, of course, can they protect Burrow?
So where are we at on the protecting Burrow thing? Are we from like last year with the Titans, 9 sacks, they still win the game? Where are we with that? What's the state of the union on protecting Joe Burrow?
Well, I think that it clearly has been, we all agree that Burrow's had another year as a starter in the league. He's played every game, started every game the entire year. There were times this year where his offensive line did not play well. We know that they got to the Super Bowl with a far less than even average offensive line. Burrow is able to recognize things better. He's better understanding of getting rid of the ball quickly, who it needs to go to, looking at how they're setting up on defense, what's the scheme on a given play. So I think he is even better prepared than he was this time a year ago. But let's be honest about it. He gets dropped 7, 8, 9 times. You got no chance. None.
I agree with that.
I think in games this year where he has been sacked 4 times or more, they've lost every one of them.
Yeah.
Cleveland,
Dallas,
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tom. I think it's going to come down to if they can protect Joe Burrow, but I think the way that they do that is they got to establish a run. They got to be balanced as you can, and they got to have a quick game. And the long developing stuff, honestly, they got to go back to what they were really good at last year. And that's, 1, 2, 3 steps, and you just let it rip. If you're doing a fade, a slant, an out, just you got to let your guys make plays. I think the Bengals have the weapons to do that. I think that they can establish a run. I think especially with Jackson Carman. I mean, we all complain about him pass blocking, but if you watch him in the run game, he is way better. And, I mean, he just drives people out. He digs them out.
He's a big, strong man now.
Yeah,
he's an athlete. There's no doubt about it. I mean, look, he has earned his share of criticism in his town in just 2 years. He's earned every piece of it. But there clearly is an upside there, and I love the fact that they thought way ahead of time. This is what coaching at the end of the day is all about. When Jonah Williams was hurt the first time this year, I think back in week 9 or week 10, ever since then, as I pointed out in the monologue, Carman has been getting reps at left tackle every day in practice ever since.
Yeah, and I was gonna mention that as well. I mean, that's also his natural position in college.
Yep.
I mean, I do now see where the Bengals' headspace is at. Now knowing that information, I feel much more comfortable with their decision. We've seen a lot of his play at guard, which is a lot different. And if you listen to, I'm going to give pub to Cincinnati Bengals Talk. He's on the show all the time, James Rapine. He does these interviews with the players in the locker room. And he talks to Jackson Carman, and he talks about the difference between guard and tackle and how much it's made an impact in developing him. It's a lot quicker in the guard position. You got to have your hands up. You got to be low. And at the tackle spot, you have a little bit more leeway. You got to be a little bit more – what's the word I'm trying to look for?
Well, I think you got to be more athletic.
More athletic. But in the guard spot, everything happens much faster than at the tackle spot. So for him, I think the transition to left tackle won't be as big of a deal as we all think it will be. I think that if the Bengals go into this game and they have to give him a little help, I won't say that they can just leave him on an island.
Right.
But if they mix it, if they just do a perfect game plan, which this Bengals staff as of late has been doing a really good job with, I think the Bengals have a really decent chance. I really do. And the fact that the Bills' defensive front has been not very good at getting to the quarterback.
27th. They were
27th.
4th in the NFL in quarterback pressures when they had Von Miller. 4th in the league. Since then, they have been 27th in the league.
Yeah, and I think that helps a lot. I really don't think that this game is being looked at fairly, in my opinion, either. I mean, everyone so far thinks Saturday is just going to be a blowout fest. Why even watch the games? But to me, I mean, I think this is as close of two teams, and I know both of them are injured.
You mean Sunday?
Sorry, Sunday.
No, I'm not trying to correct you. I'm just making
All
sure we're
right.
talking about the
You're
same game.
You're right, but the early slate games.
Yeah, okay.
The early
I just wanna
slate
make
AFC
sure.
games
Yeah.
are both supposed to be blowouts, but in my
Yeah.
opinion, I don't see that. I don't think that's going to happen. And the one factor in this whole thing, and this is more of a gut thing for me, but Josh Allen is going to make a mistake. I just know he will. He'll make a mistake that he regrets, and it's going to be another Bengals defensive win for us. It's
Well, you
just
have
how
to count on him making a mistake. You have to count on it. I think. Look, if Josh Allen does not turn the ball over in the game one time, this is a Buffalo win. Mark it down. It's a win. They're going to win the game.
Yeah,
And maybe one is the difference in the game. Maybe he has 2 or 3.
I won't.
I mean, he put it on the ground 5 times last week. 5.
Yeah.
And they still won.
Yeah. I mean, I won't go as far as to say that it has to be Josh Allen. I'm just going to say the team in general, if they give up 1 turnover at all, I think that really looks good for the Bengals. But the Bengals, in turn, the opposite side, they got to take care of the ball. And that requires them to have a decent run game. You can't drop back 40-plus times this game. You just can't.
And a lot of people in the chat are pointing out, and I agree with them wholeheartedly. In fact, I've agreed with them wholeheartedly since he got the chance to play regularly. I would like to see P-Rine more in the run game.
I agree.
I mean, I think Mixon's been one heck of a player here for a long time, and he's still one heck of a player. But there's just something about the attitude of this offense that we saw when P-Rine was getting the majority, if not all, of the carries in the backfield. There's just something about him that they bring more of a smash-mouth football kind of a team, and I think you need some of that in this game. Doesn't have to be the whole game, but setting a tone early that, yeah, we're playing in your place. You might be the big bad, as they were referred to yesterday, the Buffaloes. But you gotta punch him in the mouth early on, and the only way to punch him in the mouth, and look, maybe Mixon runs for 210 yards. I have no idea, but I would like to see P-Rine in the run game a little bit more. Paul, your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I'm with you on the P-Rine thing. I think we saw a big enough sample size with P-Rine that you could maybe if you don't want to make him the exclusive featured back, I guess all right. That's why you have Mixon, but man, for as well as P-Rine played earlier in the season, I know Mixon had that one game against Carolina, but outside of that, I think we, again, have had a big enough sample size that you should throw P-Rine back there and give him what you can. I still am just very wary of counting on a turnover. I think you said it best, Tom, where you said you have to count on a turnover to win the game. But I just hate counting on turnovers in general because they're not something that you can control.
Yep.
I like being able to win a game through things that you can control, and you can't control Josh Allen throwing an interception. I mean, sure, okay, you could sit there and say, well, you position your guys. But you can't control whether Josh Allen's going to fumble the ball or whether he's going to throw an interception. You have to create those things, sure, but it's tough for me to sit here and say that it's tough for me to sit here and feel very confident about the Bengals if we're saying, well, he has to throw 2 interceptions for the Bengals to have a chance. That just seems like you're putting yourself in a bad spot. I do think that the Bengals have a very legitimate chance to win the game, and I'm definitely going to take at least a small flyer on them on the money line. But this is a team that's also covered in, 9 straight weeks. So
Talking about the Bengals.
I'm talking about the Bengals.
Yeah.
So, I don't expect this to be any kind of a blowout. I expect this to be a close game. I think that even if the Bengals lose this game, I think they'll have a shot to win it in the end. I think that there will be an opportunity for the Bengals to win this game. I don't think that this is going to be a 14-point game and the Bengals have a backdoor cover in the fourth quarter. I think the Bengals will cover this game. Not to spoil my picks for tomorrow, but I do think the Bengals will cover, and I don't think it's going to be right there on the back end.
I mean, I just, the one thing that keeps and again, I still go back to the red zone thing. I think that's where the Bengals have proven offensively and defensively. They're so good on both sides of the ball in the red zone. I just keep going back and I say to myself, if you start looking at that Buffalo game last week, they turned the ball over. Allen, as we mentioned, 2 picks. He fumbles 3 times. Okay? And they still win the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unheard of. Now, he didn't lose all 3 fumbles, but he fumbled 3 times in the game. You're right. You can't count on the fumbles, and I just think this is going to be a great game.
I do too.
There's just so much involved in this game. It's even bigger than a football game. Damar Hamlin apparently has been at the Bills facility regularly now.
Is he walking?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, he and they haven't announced it. I will be shocked if they don't introduce Hamlin on the field before that game on Sunday. Wouldn't you be shocked?
Yeah,
if he's walking around and can come to the facility every single day, outside of him just being uncomfortable with being in that position, and maybe he's a young man, that's how he feels. I don't know. But I mean, the whole big picture of that game. And now all of a sudden, if you haven't noticed, fellas, now there are some in the quote-unquote national media that are wondering why this game was not played on a neutral field. Now, I disagree with that wholeheartedly because it's apples to apples. They played the same number of games. Buffalo lost 3. The Bengals lost 4. But, a lot of people are saying, oh, wait a minute now. Why isn't this game being played on a neutral field? The bottom line is it's not. And this has got a chance to be a great game.
I think the Chiefs and the Bengals definitely should have at least had the option to be played, whether it's a coin flip or something else, should have had the option to be played on a neutral field. But, yeah, Buffalo deserves this home field. Yeah.
All right, we got a ton watching. We're going to take a break, and then we'll come back and have our last game. Another one. It looks like it could be a phenomenal game. That being the Dallas Cowboys at the hottest team in all of football, winners of 11 in a row, the San Francisco 49ers out in California. We're back with more. Off the bench, is it Ham and Egger time?
It is.
It's Ham and Egger
Gentlemen,
time.
Ham and Eggers. Zim coming up.
It's that time of the show, the Ham and Eggers. These guys are great. Trust me, I would know. I introduce all the best segments.
Wait. Well. And, ooh.
Just a quick brush. All right, so what do we have going on today, Casey? We have there's a couple of things to get to. Again, the Discord. I'll put the Discord. I haven't had the Discord in the chat. I'll put the Discord in the chat. I'll put that link in there and pin that one up there. I haven't done that in the last couple of days. Make sure you subscribe to the show and like the video. We've gotten a lot of traction on our YouTube channel. Our TikTok has been blowing up lately. Tom's been all over the TikTok. TikTok's up around 1,200 followers from where we started at around 100 maybe a week and a half ago. That's had gotten a ton of traction. So subscribe to the channel, get to TikTok, bet with Betfred Sportsbook, drink Pawnee water, all that good stuff.
Oh, you got your Pawnee water out there.
I got my Pawnee water right here. The Discord has been posting winners. Casey, you've been posting winners. I just put in the Discord your screenshot from last night, up 11 units. So Casey is up 34 units in the last 2 days betting.
One Buffalo.
34 units in the last 2 days. And we have now entered into the discussion of whether you're going to go to Buffalo on Sunday.
So I'll just let you know. I've been messaging my boy, my guy, Thomas.
Your plug.
You're going.
We're looking at tickets right now.
Let's go!
Oh, you are?
We're
Okay.
looking at tickets right now.
Nice. Okay.
So we're planning on going. Huh?
You can tailgate with us.
What time are you gonna be there?
Oh, we're leaving. We're going Saturday.
You're leaving Saturday. I don't know if we're gonna leave Saturday. We might leave Sunday morning. Just go straight to the game.
Go straight to the game and then drive
We haven't
back?
decided yet. Yeah.
Oh, my
and
God.
drive right
12
back.
hours of driving in one day? Plus the game?
Go Saturday.
Yikes.
Go Saturday.
Well, and then he's got to figure out somewhere to stay.
Stay an hour away for $80.
Sleep in the car.
I don't know. I think the plan is for us to go Sunday. That's just the cheapest thing that we can do. And
Tickets aren't outrageous.
No,
I mean,
they're not.
I'm not going, but tickets aren't outrageous.
Yeah, they're only like $170 for the lower bowl.
Yeah.
Like in the end zone, which at a Bengals game this last Bengals game, it was probably like $400, $500.
Yeah, for the equivalent ticket. Yeah, I paid like $210 before fees, and I sat right underneath the big scoreboard under the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I was legitimately just like, wow, that's surprising to me how cheap the ticket was. So, I mean, we couldn't pass this up. I mean, this is going to be a big game.
Sure.
Top 3 quarterbacks going at it in the playoffs.
Reed's Buffalo parlay did not hit, but Reed has 2 more chances. Reed could try today or tomorrow.
We're
Probably can't try Buffalo parlay on Saturday.
Maybe you can make up the difference in women's basketball.
You probably could. If I'm being honest, you probably could.
We're gonna keep trying. We're gonna post the Buffalo parlay tonight. We're gonna have something cooked up for you guys. And in terms of my picks and betting, I'm still superstitious. I need a little bit more time before I post mine.
No,
I'm just kidding.
It's not superstition. It's confidence, Casey, and you're winning. Be confident in your picks. You're up 33 units in 2 days.
Did I hear while I was out that, Casey, you're officially going now?
Yes. We're looking at tickets right now.
Oh.
Well, so you don't have tickets yet.
There's plenty available.
Okay,
We're just
but
choosing
you
which ones
are
to
going for sure.
pick.
You and Alex, I assume?
Me and Thomas.
No, Alex.
No, Alex.
Uh-oh.
Trouble in paradise. Ask Tracy.
Extra.
Well, that's a Tracy topic today for sure. All right, let's get to the Giants v. 49ers. The Niners are down to a third-string quarterback who has not lost a game. Now, in fairness, did a little reading earlier today, okay? Brock Purdy has played against some really bad defenses. Seattle, 2 times. The Raiders, Arizona, Miami. The only defense he has played this season that ranked higher than 12th in points allowed per game since taking over the Washington Football Wizards. Seattle, the Raiders, Arizona, and Miami were all 24th or below. Now, you can't criticize a guy who is on the schedule. I mean, Purdy took over, third-string guy. I don't know how many teams out there would have a third-string guy come in, go undefeated, average 37 points per game, I think, since he's taken over. Casey, are you a believer now in Brock Purdy, yay or nay?
Ooh, this is going to be his toughest test. You know what? I do think that he should be next year the starting quarterback for the 49ers. I really do think that. I think he's proved that enough. But we will really know for sure, because there's one thing that I do believe in, and I do believe in Micah Parsons and that pass rush with DeMarcus Lawrence and that Cowboys defense. That defense looked legit. And I know it was against Tom Brady, and he's not done well all year. But that could have been the spark that they needed to get their butt in gear. And this is going to be a rookie quarterback. Stakes are a bit higher now. We'll see. I mean, the key to me is for the Cowboys to get up early and for the 49ers to make one mistake, and then that's the perfect position for the Cowboys.
Now, Dak Prescott played the best game, arguably, he's played all year long, last week against Tampa Bay on Monday night. Threw 4 touchdowns, ran for another, did not turn the ball over. It's the first time since November that Prescott has played in a game where he did not throw an interception. I'm telling you, I know there's pressure on every team, and we talked about this the other day with Voch Lombardi. The pressure on Dak Prescott and Dallas is it's indescribable. You can't even live in Cincinnati and understand it. You have to go spend some time down there in Dallas to see what that is like, to hear what it's like. It is nonstop, 24/7. The Cowboys, the Cowboys, the Cowboys. Can Dak win a playoff game? He's won playoff games. Can he win and get you to a championship game? He's got him to a championship game. Can he get him to a Super Bowl? He's never done it before. Paul, does he beat the 49ers in Santa Clara this weekend?
I don't think so. I think the 49ers get this done. I think they get back to the NFC Championship game. I really do. I think that Brock Purdy has it going. I think the 49ers fans, for as much as we talk about the Cowboys fans, I think this is a 49ers fan base that is going to be electric at home. I think this is going to be a very fun game. There's a reason that this is the primetime game on Sunday. Give me Brock Purdy. Give me the 49ers. I think they get it done over the Cowboys. And you know what? No. I'm just going to say that they're going to win.
I think the 49ers are going to blow them out of the gym.
Well, you said it, Tom.
I sit there and I watch San Francisco play, and you can say, as I just pointed out, the competition lately hasn't been that great. They have won 11 in a row, and I mean, Christian McCaffrey, he was always a really good player at times in Carolina, a great player, no doubt. I mean, this guy looks like an entirely different cat to me, man, than any other running back outside of Barkley playing in the playoffs. He is just been unbelievable to watch.
I agree
Pass
with
game,
that.
run game, both.
Yeah, this 49ers team, to me, is the favorite in the NFC. I have them going to the Super Bowl when we did our stuff with Brenny last Friday. And that's not going to change for me. I do think that they win this game, but this is going to be, to me, their toughest game, even if the Eagles win. I don't think that I think the Cowboys match up a lot better than the Eagles do just simply because of Micah Parsons. I mean, that is a game changer at the edge position, and right now, the 49ers are hurt on the defensive line, and the Cowboys, their offensive line is, as we all know, has been very, very good as of late. I don't know. I mean, this is a game where some things can happen for the Cowboys. Just one thing here and there, and then we're looking at a completely different ball game, and you know how I feel. I already said it. 49ers are probably going to win this game, but I'm not going to count out the Cowboys.
All right.
I just can't. I can't say any team is going to get blown out at this point in the playoffs.
Okay.
And all these teams are good in some shape or form.
Yes. Well, there's no doubt. All right. So we've done our best here to try to give you a few things to think about for the games coming up. Obviously, we're going to spend most of the day tomorrow talking about the Bengals and the Bills, rightfully so. Hopefully we can get our buddy Reuben Brown back on tomorrow. I'd like to hear his perspective on the feeling up there in Buffalo. Former great offensive lineman. He's been on the program twice so far this year. He joined us before the Bills and Bengals played on that Monday night here, and we know what happened there. Cardiac arrest on the field, suffered by Damar Hamlin, and the game was stopped and never made up. And now they get a chance to play in Buffalo on Sunday afternoon. Is our man Zim Hude in the house?
He is not in yet.
All right. Trying to read some of our comments here in the chat. Emperor says, Casey carrying the show today in his beard. Somebody suggested you're starting to go with a mullet. Is that right or wrong?
No.
Oh,
I'm
come
not
on,
doing
do the mullet. You can do it now before the wedding. You can do the mullet now.
Yeah, that'd be a really good look one day for the pictures in the wedding
I'm saying
with a mullet.
he can do it and then cut it before the wedding, and you look fine because you get a haircut. 2-3 weeks before a wedding.
Don't go back and play football.
You can get Don't go back to where you got your head shaved back in November or so. I went back and watched the clip. I watched the ex-professional clip like 2 nights ago. Casey, you looked without a beard and with your hair buzzed. You look like a different human being.
Yeah, I prefer to have either a beard or some stubble. I feel like I look like a child without it. And then the hair,
Relatable.
Which, by the way, it's looking good. I love it.
It's tired.
No.
It's got to grow. Oh,
Keep it coming.
Yeah, never mind.
And we're forgetting our main man, the host of this show. You look really good. You look like George Clooney with a beard.
George Clooney.
Yeah.
I look more like Nick Clooney because I'm closer to his age.
Oh.
You ever met George Clooney?
I have not. I've been around Nick Clooney many, many times. Never met George. I'm sure he and I get along beautifully. I have no doubt. I love his work, and I love the things that people say about him as far as people that work with him. He was doing all those Ocean 11 movies, the whole thing.
One of my favorite.
All those guys, and there are a lot of big-time stars in those movies. And I normally don't give 10 seconds of my time to anything that has to do with the entertainment world. I mean, if you were to throw out a bunch of actors or actresses' names, I wouldn't know who 3/4 of them are. But I do like when I read the guys like Brad Pitt, and there were a host of others, Al Pacino and many, many others talked about, Andy Garcia talking about what it's like to work with Clooney and how he's phenomenal to everybody, not just the stars, but to everybody on the set, no matter what the job it is that they do. And so when Clooney picks up the phone and calls him and asks him about coming back and doing a movie, they can't get there fast enough. And that, I'm sure that has a lot to do with his upbringing down in Maysville, Kentucky. You guys ever been to Maysville, Kentucky?
Very briefly. I think I've driven
It's a cool
through
little
it.
town.
Yeah.
It's like Main Street, small town America, 4 or 5 blocks. I remember we used to go there on the Reds caravan, and they had in the back, it was like something out of Peaky Blinders. They had in the back there a little bar, a little OTB. Big league.
Big leaguer.
It was nice. Still knows him.
Still knows him.
He's probably.
Oh, my God. Poofy-haired fancy boy. Come on. I mean, come on. Come on. Come on.
You say come on a lot, but you never deny it.
Well, I mean, look. I mean, we're bringing up adult film stars. If I've met any of them, no, I haven't. So I don't know her. So come on.
You know the name.
That name I did know because I made the mistake. The only reason I know that name is because my dad and I were on the radio one day years ago, and I was walking around. We were in Los Angeles. I'll never forget this as long as I live. Walking through this outdoor mall, beautiful sunny day in L.A., right there in the middle of Century City, borders on Beverly Hills. And I'm out there walking around during the day, and there's this huge, mass group of people that are there for some book signing. And I can see the name up on the board on who it is. And I'm like, oh, we're in L.A., must be some Hollywood starlet. Well, we got in the radio booth later that night. My dad and I are doing a game. I said, hey, did you walk over the mall today? Yeah, some woman named Jenna Jameson. And my dad looks at me like I have 4 heads. He's like, you got to be kidding, right? Well, I have no idea what he's talking about. Well, I came to find out right quick. So, Teaching Thom.
Well, we have a teaching Thom.
We do? What is it?
We do. Let's go. Roll it, Casey.
There's one of those that goes around on the internet.
Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty.
Joe what? Is that the word? Is that the hip word? I don't even know what to say. What? When a viewer tells me that I'm trying to be hip and I'm not as hip as I think I am, that hurts. Okay.
All right, Tom. So we're going to learn this one from Twitter, actually. This is not necessarily straight with a definition here, but Stan Van Gundy tweeted yesterday a long tweet about the 80s NBA teams. Kevin Durant, who's very active on Twitter and is honestly hilarious on Twitter, he responds to Stan Van Gundy and says, Stan spittin'. Now, what do you think spittin' means, Tom?
I am guessing, based on the way you prefaced this, that I am assuming that Kevin Durant is disagreeing with Van Gundy.
Okay.
Okay? Maybe I'm wrong. So when he says spitting, he's spitting out just ridiculous stuff.
Okay, that is the complete opposite of what it means.
All right.
And this is why we're teaching
All
Tom.
right, good.
So spitting means
Spitting out the facts.
You're speaking facts. So it's like you're he abbreviated basically you're spitting facts. He's abbreviated it down to spitting.
Okay.
And then poor Stan Van Gundy had to respond back to Kevin Durant thinking that Kevin was misinterpreting what he was saying. And then SVG said, "Oh, sorry, I had no idea." So there's your teaching, Tom. See? Now
there we go. I like that. And had I not jumped the gun a little bit on interpreting that he was disagreeing with him, then I would have the other way. It makes perfect sense. So if I'm hanging out with somebody over the weekend, right? And, my wife's going out of town this weekend. My son's going on a college visit this weekend. So dad is at home solo. May have a few of the boys over watching a little football and a few beers this weekend.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Or a little bit of, who knows what. So if one of them starts to talk about Patrick Mahomes, we're watching, and it's something that's really good info on Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
I would say.
You'd be like, man, Tim's spitting.
Wow. Okay.
And you could say spitting straight facts.
Yeah, you could say like spitting facts. Like maybe that would.
Yeah, but spitting means you're spitting facts,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, you're just truncating it down, yeah.
Okay. It's a big word, truncating. Did you learn that at Xavier? Or was that from that private school in Northern Virginia, D.C.? Which was it?
It was grade school, Tom.
Okay, I'm only kidding you. Still waiting on Zim. I mean, I'm going to send him a text right now. I don't know what's going on.
There's like an 80% chance he's in a Twitter space right now. Let's see if we can get into a Zim Hude Twitter space right now. Because the Bengals do have a Twitter space. We'll put him live on if he's in. Ace Boogie's in one.
He's in one.
Is he in one? I don't think he is. I don't see him in one.
He's a speaker right now and talking football, not feelings.
So he said Zim Hude is in. Can we get somebody that's on here to get in that Twitter space and tell Zim to come on off the bench? Because that would be funny.
That would be really good. Be really good. I mean, Zim's just busy right now. He's getting back. We told you he's reinstated recently on Twitter, so he's back with him and Ace Boogie, and they got a lot of stuff going on. We do have Tracy Jones at 11:30. Waiting to find out what the deal is with, Zim Hude, Sir Boy Wonder, and Starwood say that he is in Twitter space right now.
He's working. He's working the fans, working them up.
Need him here.
We do need him here. I don't know why Emperor keeps asking me if I know Chris Sabo. I love Chris Sabo.
It's his birthday today.
It is?
Yes.
Wow. I tell you, his daughter does a nice job on the red stuff.
Annie
Sabo. She does a really nice job. Love Chris Sabo. Love the guy. He was, I always thought he was a guy that was going to be a major league manager. He was in the minor leagues for a while, coaching. He coached in the college ranks. Most recently, I think it was at the University of Akron. He just left that program, if I'm not mistaken. He was their coach as recently as last season. But I always thought that he would be a guy that one day was in the major leagues.
Right. You know what's funny? I did not go to the same school as the Obamas, but I would play.
That was in the chat.
That was in the chat. What is funny about that, though, is that playing high school sports, you would play. So the president's kids generally will go to Sidwell Friends, which is a D.C. area private school. When you would play either Sidwell Friends or, like, for example, I remember one time we were playing baseball. We had an away game, and the Obamas, the daughters, were in a track meet right next to the baseball field.
Well, of course.
So we had to do the whole the Secret Service, and everybody was around the baseball field. It is kind of wild when you run into those kinds of situations back in D.C. that sometimes I kind of forget about those stories.
Big league operator.
Yeah.
That's not you and me, Casey.
No, not at all.
Public schools, common men.
Yep.
Right?
The good old school of Blantucky.
Everett, we're not going down that road.
Everett
My opinion of the Obamas, we're not going down that road.
Everett just wants to say politics in all caps.
Well, Everett was the guy that stirred it all up yesterday with my dad.
Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah, he did.
What's the guy's name? Dumbledore?
Yeah.
Dumbledore.
Fumbledore.
Fumbledore Allen.
AJ says if Zim ever shows up, don't let him cut into a second of number 29's airtime. That would be the Tracer.
Just call him. He'll see your call in and be like, oh, okay.
I'm not going to call him. He and I were texting earlier or last night and again today, and as recently as 10 minutes before the show started, he was all good at 11. He must be going off on somebody.
You want me to call him?
No, don't call him. Okay. While we got a few minutes, and since he's not here, Paul, I want to ask you,
Sure.
Does it bother you, and this is shifting gears entirely over to college basketball for a minute.
Sure.
We saw last Saturday where 11 teams ranked in the top 25 lost, the most in one day since 2011. Xavier losing last night. Nobody likes to lose. Does it concern you they've been winning, and we've talked about this? Oh, wait a minute. Now we have our guy.
Our guy. I liked where this was going to
Oh,
college.
man. I don't know. I want to beat him down, but I love him like he's my own brother. And that's our man. Look at him. Well, you know what? You've been chewing up all of Twitter right now with your man Ace Boogie, haven't you?
Been doing a lot of work out here, Tom. It's a lot of work to be done. They was like, Zim, what are you doing in here? Tom's on the show. I was like, oh, I forgot. Like, man, I'm telling you, it gets heated out here. Everybody wants the Bengals blood, and here we are. I haven't even talked to you since I got my Twitter back.
I know. How did that happen? Give us a lowdown.
Man, I called everybody I could. Just kept on appealing and stuff like that, and I got some people to get me out of Twitter jail, man. I busted out.
Well, Twitter is better for it, having you on there. Look, all the talk, here we are now. Buffalo v. Bengalis. What are your thoughts on this one, Zim?
I feel just as good as I did on the Monday night game. I wish it were at Paycor. That's a whole nother conversation, of course. If it were at Paycor, I would unequivocally tell you that this is going to be a Bengals win. There's so many elements to this game, man. I'm going to tell you, Josh Allen is a quarterback that the Bengals just haven't seen. Like, anybody telling you any different, harping on his turnovers, that's fine. But if he doesn't turn the ball over, it's a quarterback that the Bengals haven't seen. And that is super, super important for people to understand. This game could go either way. I could see a Bengals comfortable win. I could see a Bills comfortable win. Not really, because Joe Burrow always brings it back. But but more and more often than likely, I see a closer game. I think it looks a lot like how the Chiefs game looked, where Bengals have some early success, Chiefs kind of match it and bring themselves back to it, but then ultimately Burrow and them, just hang on at the end of it and complete and are efficient at the end of that game. I thought that Ravens game, Burrow was super efficient in that game. And the one thing that I've been harping on is that the fact that the Bills play so fast. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you.
The Bills, thank you very much. The Bills play so fast, and what that does is give the opposition possessions. They gave the Dolphins 15 possessions in that game last week. The Dolphins aren't a better team than the Bengals, but they gave them the opportunity to go win the game. The Bills had 16 possessions and put 34 points on the board. If you give Joe Burrow 15 possessions, 14 possessions, 13, I'm scoring 30-something, 40 points. You can't give them that many opportunities. So they have to think about how they want to come and play us.
Where are you with the offensive line? It's all everybody's talking about back here. They made the decision. It's going to be Jackson Carman. He's been working out at left tackle, the position he played in high school, the position he played at Clemson in front of Trevor Lawrence in college. He's been working out since Jonah Williams hurt his knee, going all the way back to week 10. What are your thoughts about him getting the nod out there at left tackle?
He looked pretty darn good when I saw him. You know, the one rep that I thought he gave up, I think he thought he had a running back chip in. And then if you look at the depth of Burrow on that drop back, it was really far back. And I don't think Jackson Carman was prepared for that. And Joe Burrow could have probably stepped up earlier, but he didn't. And it's just a communication thing in my mind. I thought for the most part, he looked really good. One thing about Jonah coming out is we were told he was going to be a technician. He's not going to get beat technically or whatever. Okay, so Jonah Williams gives up 13, 14 sacks this season, and a lot of different times it was just based on fundamentals, footwork, and different things like that. The one thing that I always said that really good quarterbacks do have is a big left tackle that's massive, mauling style. And Jackson Carman is bigger. He's stronger. He looks a lot more like a prototypical left tackle in the National Football League. If you ask me, Jonah Williams was always undersized to me, probably be better at guard in the NFL. That's what it was said coming out of college, right? But he's serviceable. I think he's really good. I think he'll probably be back next week, right? And you put him back at left tackle. But moving forward, I thought like the only reason why the Dolphins guy didn't get killed, Skylar Thompson, last week is because he had Terran Armstead. Or the reason why the 49ers are still going to be like pretty good with no matter what quarterback they have is because they have Trent Williams. You know how La'el Collins looks to everybody, just looks bigger than everybody when you see him? Like, I almost feel like Joe Burrow just needs that. And when you see Carman lined up, that's how he looks. Like a big mauling style type, tackle, whatever. And
he does.
And I think that's a formula for, like what you need. And I don't think that the drop-off is as big as everybody says. I think the drop-off are the injuries that people aren't talking about. The one to Micah Hyde, is the biggest injury one in this whole entire game. And I'm going to tell you why. The Bengals rarely get single coverage on the outside. The Bills, because Hyde has been gone with a neck injury all season, were forced to play a lot of single high safety looks where they're giving you one-on-one matchups on the outside. Every single time that the Bengals saw that this year, the Falcons, the Saints, the Panthers, and even bits and pieces of the Jets game, all of those games had the same concepts where teams are giving up these really big plays. That's why I thought the first play of the game in that Bills Monday night game was very telling. That's what it looks like when you don't go two safeties over the top on the outside and make Joe Burrow like grind it out all the way down the field. The Bills don't really have an answer for that. They play more cover 3 than any team in the National Football League, and I think that's very important that people know that. And if they're going to change up what they do and play cover 2 with a brand new safety, because remember, DeMar Hamlin's not playing. That is a big deal for me. I think that I don't know if they're going to be able to adjust to that. And think about this. The Dolphins scored 31 points last week, and their quarterback only threw for 40%. Thom, did you know that Joe Burrow currently right now is the leading completion percentage in the National Football League's history? Did you also know that Joe Burrow's leading completion percentage in the playoffs history is 69%? This guy doesn't miss. Yep. So if you're telling me you're giving Skylar Thompson 31 points and he only threw for 40%, what do people think that Joe Burrow is going to do to that secondary that's missing more key components than my left tackle who gave up 13, 14 sacks anyway?
Gosh, there was some. Here, listen, I know you're tight with Mixon. You're already laughing, okay? I know you're tight with Mixon. But I made the comment a little bit earlier, and I love Mixon. I love what he's done since he put on his uniform here, both on the field and off the field. I love his swagger. He's not afraid to put himself out there. I am all in on Joe Mixon. I liked the running game. There was something about it that screamed smash mouth football to me when P-Perine was carrying the load. Your thoughts on that? I know you're a big Mixon guy, so have at it.
I thought early in that game, I was surprised at some of those bigger runs. Mixon I thought he should have took off on them and probably gave us like a 20-yard run, and it ended up being like 11-yard runs. And then later on, I feel like the Ravens are the second best run defense in the National Football League. So It's going to look like that sometimes, you know. The P-Rine thing is in the limited carries that he has had recently, he hasn't really looked that good. I think he had like 2 carries or 3 carries for like 3 or 4 yards. So I thought when they came out there with the Chiefs, that was a better matchup because the run defense wasn't anything close to what the Ravens or the Bills are. And P-Rine had a really good game and runs for 100 yards. And then you also keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. I just think it's a week-to-week type of thing. In this one, I do want to see a lot of P-Rine in there in pass protection. I just think the big playability of Mixon bouncing runs, you think about it, he ran for 65, what was that, like 2 weeks ago? And then he had the 40-yard taken away. Remember, it was a holding call? He could have ran for 100 in that game.
Yep.
So it's one of those things. It's in hindsight, you're always going to say, maybe P-Rine runs that differently. But I kind of trust the coaches on that one. Like, for me, I wouldn't second guess it. If P-Rine got more carries this game, I wouldn't be disappointed. If Mixon took more of the workload, I mean, it's Joe Mixon. Since 2017, he's one of the leading running backs in the National Football League. So,
yep. That's why I say I'm not down on Mixon. I'm a big fan of Mixon. I just don't know. I just think from an attitudinal standpoint, and look, Mixon brings the attitude. I'm not suggesting that. We've talked about this already. Now, for the first time all year long, we've been joined in the chat and on the show by a guy who goes by Josh Allen Big Balls. Okay? And he claims, look it up, the best player for the Bengals all year long this season, the referees. They got more penalty first downs than anybody in the league. Now, I'm not looking that up statistically right now. He might be spot on. But listen, Josh Allen, BB, great to have you with us. But I tell you what, if you win or if your team loses, please come back in the chat on Monday. Please come back in to the chat on Monday. Okay.
Have you heard the stats about Carl Jeffers, the referee? And do you know what his record is against the Bengals? I mean, what his record is when he's officiating a Bills game?
It is
6-0.
Yeah. And so he's talking about the referee. This is the stuff that makes me crazy. Probably got you suspended from Twitter. Stuff like that. Guy talking about the referees, and the guy who's a referee in the game, the Bills haven't lost a game. He's been the referee in the game. And we haven't even played the game.
Tom, that's just fear. People are like, they build it, you know, like they start up with different scenarios in their mind already just to kind of like lighten the load in case they lose. They'll be able to hang on that. That's just fear.
This guy's already disappeared. Since I called out his name, most of the time we call out somebody's name, you know, they immediately write back. Good, bad, or indifferent. Oh, he says, I'll be back. All right, now he says, I'll be back on Monday.
There he is. Thom is on a heater. But I'm just telling you right now, like, that's just fear. Like, there's not a Bengals fan alive that's sitting around thinking about, like, oh my God, what are the Bills like? The only reason why I know that stat is because people keep on posting me and they're fearful. They're like, man, this guy called Jeffers. Have you seen what he looks like every time they go to play? And I'd be like, so, like, the guy's got to play the game. And I feel like the Bills need more than the rest to win this game. That's how I feel with my quarterback. I guess they don't feel the same about Josh Allen.
No. I mean, you know, Josh Allen BB is writing about, writing about referees instead of writing about Josh Allen.
Josh Allen is
I mean, you and Casey and Paul are the only homers on this show, Zim. So that's okay. Are you not going to the game in Buffalo? I mean, how long of a ride is that for you from the elite suburbs outside of D.C.?
I think it's only like 6 hours.
And you're not going?
I'm not going.
Okay.
You
and I have an agreement, right? I mean, you know, I had offered to buy you a ticket for the game last week. You couldn't get into town, okay? As a thanks for you joining us on this show all year long, if the Bengals play at home next week in the AFC Championship game, I'm telling you right now, I will have a ticket for you.
Okay.
All right.
I think it's a big possibility, man. People got to watch that Jaguars game. I will say
you don't believe that, Zim. Come on. You don't believe that.
The last 7 games or so, Trevor Lawrence has been on a roll, and he had all the pressure on him. I will say this. The last time that the Jags played the Chiefs, Pat Mahomes was tearing them apart.
Yes. Yep.
But it is what it is. I think we're Bills and Bengals fans can combine and cheer for the Jaguars on Saturday, and we'll see how it goes. Whether it's at Paycor or not, I like my chances if I get past. So I like my chances now. I thought the Ravens posed a bigger threat as far as the coverages that I talked about. But I'm telling you right now, everybody that's listening, the possessions. If the Bills play that style of football, like gun, throw the ball, you're just going to give me the ball, and Joe Burrow's going to cook.
Some Ravens fan joined the chat and says, how did my YouTube bring me to this channel? I was looking at beautiful Ravens news, and then it went off and switched to this garbage.
Can I tell them why?
Baltimore fans just can't let it go. I mean, yeah.
Can I tell them why?
Of course.
I can tell you why. The Bengals packed you up 2 times in a week, right? And then we sent you to Cabo, and now that you're sitting there in the sand with, like in the beach with sand all in your feet, Mr. Ravens guy. We call them purple people online because they just move different anyway. But this purple person right here now doesn't have the decency to come back and thank me and you for giving you a first-class ticket to all season and mock drafts. The one thing that I want to make sure that this guy does is when you bring out your mock draft board, make sure you mock a quarterback in the first round. There you go.
You got that right. Because Lamar is DUN in Baltimore. All right, Zim, I know you're in savage mode already. I don't know how you're going to contain yourself from now until Sunday at 3 o'clock.
I'm focused, man. The job is, we got a lot. You just laid it out. We got a game to go to next week. It's a lot of different things. I got to pick out an outfit, all these things. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of
now
different
you
things
sound like Joe Burrow. You got to pick up an outfit.
We got to pick out a fit. We got to make sure we're good next week at Paycor. It's a lot of things that we got to worry about, though. But all jokes aside, though, I think this is going to be an awesome game. I think maybe 27-24 mode, good offensive shootout at points. There are going to be some defensive plays made too. I think it's going to be an exciting game. It could go either way, honestly.
All right. Zim, it's always great seeing you. Have a great weekend. You and I will be going back and forth over the weekend, texting about the game and what's happening. So, I caught your act a little bit on the live stream last Sunday. I'll be dialed in again this week. So you have a good day and get the Bengalis that win.
Hold on, I got a big one tonight. If anybody's watching this, I got an interview tonight with Zach Carter, defensive lineman for the Bengals, 7:30 Cincinnati pod. So if you want to know about some trenches and stuff like that, I thought Zach Carter had a real good game against the Ravens. So make sure you guys follow me at Zimhude or Cincinnati pod on Twitter. We're going to have a good show tonight with Zach Carter, and we're going to get a little bit of information on what we're going to look like up front on the defensive side.
Zach Carter had an excellent game last week. There's no doubt. He's become much more of a force along with Osai and some of those young players along the defensive line when the team is needed the most. All right, Zim, take care of yourself. God bless, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate you, Thom.
That's our guy. Zim. And we got another guy. Oh, boy. We got lots to talk about with the Tracer. Tracy Jones joining us from his palatial estate, which, we have not gotten an update, Tracy. We did not get an update the other day. Where does the garage door stand situation getting into your luxury condo building there?
Let me just comment on that previous guest before me. I really like that guy.
Love the guy.
What position does he play? What position? I'm not familiar with that name. What position does he play?
Broadcaster, YouTube and Twitter sensation. He's the man. Zimhude.
Oh, he's one of those guys that use the old "we," right? I thought he was a player. He shouldn't use that term, "we." Just.
You know that story, and I know you've heard this story before. But my favorite all-time story about guys using "we," I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah,
back when my dad started with the Reds back in '74, he was having a conversation with Jack Billingham, and my dad dropped a "we" on him. Right. And Billingham looked at him and asked, "Is we a three-letter word?" What was the thing in French? Right, that's a three-letter word in French, right? Because there's no "we." Right. Marty didn't put on the uniform. Of course, him and Billingham are the best of pals now. Right. But that Zim's
really
a man. You can't come on the program and badmouth Zim.
He's very good. No, he's very good. He does a great job breaking it down. But that really did affect your dad. He doesn't like that "we" at all. He really doesn't. And he will not use that. when he's talking about the Reds.
Nope.
Hey,
no.
I don't know. Let me stop here because can you hear the banging upstairs? Can you hear it? Well, let me tell you, you will be. There's some guy upstairs just moved in. He's putting in a new kitchen.
Okay.
And what's crazy, here's the thing. I don't have a problem with that. I do have a little bit of a problem with this guy. Now, try to get this visual. Just moves in. He wears a gi. I've only seen him like 7 times. Every time I see him, he's wearing a gi with a black belt. Do you know what a gi is, Tom?
No. What is a gi?
It's a karate outfit. It's what you would
okay.
do
Well,
in
maybe he's into the martial arts. So what? What's the big deal?
Well, here's the problem. He wears the black belt, and then he's got like 10 red stripes. So he's like a 10th degree black belt.
Oh, boy.
So I'm looking at this guy. He looks a little bit like Don Knotts. You know, Barney Fife. He's about 65 pounds. He couldn't beat anybody's ass. Made his money through crypto. He was a crypto trader. Made a killing there. And then he's like a millennial in his early 30s, I would say. So here's the catch with that guy. Walking around his gi with his black belt. I asked James, our doorman, I said, James, what about Joe? I call him Karate Joe. I really call him J.O. You know, you can't spell Joe without the J.O. So I asked James, I says, James, what about Karate Joe? What's his story? He says, here's the thing, Trace. He's never taken a lesson of karate. Nothing. He's not a karate expert. He's a nothing. He's just faking. He's a poser. It's all about the image, right? So he's walking around like a tough guy with his black belt with red stripes through it, and he's never taken karate. Now,
do you think there's a chance that you might call him out on that one day in the elevator or in the lobby or, you know, standing under the broken garage?
You know how people gravitate toward me? You know, I've got that charisma.
Especially women.
Especially women. And so everybody knows I'm running for president of the HOA. And he says, Trace, I know you don't know me well, but can I be your sergeant at arms? I don't think we need a sergeant at arms at our condo association, do we, Tommy?
I tell you, I didn't think you used to need a sergeant at arms at school board meetings, but you need those now, so maybe you need them at the HOA, right?
Good point. Okay, here's something else that happened. This place is crazy. You don't hear that, huh? All the work. So after we talked about the garage door, it got fixed later on in the afternoon. 2 days later, swear to God, one of our old people ran right into it and it's damaged. And now we're waiting till Tuesday for this door company, and I don't want to rip them a new one because they're very popular. They can't get out till Tuesday. So again, the door is open. There's the Mercedes. There's my Range Rover. There's my Big E. You know, we've got all the nice cars, and the door is wide open again.
Well, thank God you're running for president of the HOA. Are you getting any sense from early polling how you're doing in that race? Any feel for that?
Well, I'm pretty good at BSing and smoothing it over with some of the people. The problem with our building, we have a lot of, I got to watch my wording here, a lot of liberals. So, you know, you've got the liberals against my group.
Right.
So, but maybe I should bring Karate Joe as my sergeant at arms. What do you think, Tommy?
Well, I mean, you know, look, it may not hurt. The doorman James may have just shared that information with you confidentially. Most of the other people in that building might think to themselves, gosh, he doesn't look like much of a threat. But, man, I mean, this guy might be a, triple, quadruple, 10-time black belt. Those guys may not look very big, but you don't want to mess with those guys.
Yeah, Joe is, like I said, he's a J.O. That is an example of a J.O. Hey, I got a question for you, Tommy, and I, enough of our tomfoolery that we seem to do once in a while here. Here's and I'm serious on this, and I'm going to ask you the question, and I don't want you to do the old political correct thing, which you're not, which I like. But I'm going to ask you a serious question. You guys have probably already dealt with this on your great show. Why wouldn't the Reds sign Trevor Bauer?
Well, I think, Tracy, that look, I think Trevor Bauer is an outstanding pitcher. I think that, you know, that he might be the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. He might be. The last time he pitched a full season, it wasn't a full season, it was COVID, he won a Cy Young Award. Nobody's more focused. Nobody knows his body better, knows about the mechanics better, understands the analytics better. There, you know, all of that. But look, as far as the Reds, take away even the PR part of it, okay? I just take that out of the mix. I mean, the Reds are not going to go spend any money on Trevor Bauer or anybody else for that matter.
Now, wait a minute. The understanding, wait a minute. Hold on. Maybe I've got this wrong. It's only going to cost them $750,000.
I understand that, but they're not going to do it. They're just, you and I both know it. They're not going to do it. They got enough PR problems down there right now, Tracy.
You know what a PR problem is, Tom? Losing 100 games and friggin' finishing in last place. How far can you go down? Okay? Or a president criticizing the fans. That's not real good image either. I'm just saying, hey, Trevor Bauer had a lot of success here.
Yep.
You know, he was found innocent. He was never found guilty. I actually dug into the Trevor Bauer. He was accused of doing 3 things. The third thing, I don't even think is possible. I'm not going to get into it because this is a family show. We got a lot of kids watching. Okay. I'm not going to get into it. But he was found not guilty. And I just can't believe he got a suspension of 324 games. You know, Will Cordero had 8 games for domestic violence. Chapman served 30. Addison Russell, 40. Urias, the pitcher for the Dodgers, 20. Azuna, the outfield for the Braves, 20. I'm a guy that likes second chances. Tom, you should be getting a second chance is kind of why I'm bringing this up. But you ever see some guys are allowed to get away with things and others not? There's kind of a double standard, double rules for some people. And other people, like a Trevor Bauer, gets hammered. I think he's being treated unfairly. The girl wanted rough sex, right? She texts that to him. What is the definition of rough sex? Again, this is a family show, but I'm just saying there's a legitimate point there.
You know what? I mean, there's no doubt. And I'm not waffling on this thing. It's just an extremely complicated issue entirely. Do you think at the end of the day, take the Reds out of it, they're not signing Trevor?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. But at the end of the day, do you think there's going to be a team? Because one of our viewers in the chat brings up, Addison Russell has not played in the big league since all that went down. So
that's a good point. He was a good shortstop.
But is that because of that, or is that because he just wasn't a very good player? I mean, he started off as a guy that looked like he was going to be up here, and then just slowly but surely, he ended up losing his starting job even before all that went down. He's still a very young man. But he got to the big leagues as a very young man. But let me ask you this. Do you really believe there's going to be a team ultimately that is going to say, okay, look, I know I'm going to get a ton of heat for this sign. But I also know in the back of my mind, and I always find this so interesting because no owner is going to come out and say this, but this is what they say behind closed doors, okay?
Right.
There's somebody out there that is saying behind a closed door right now, look, the PR nightmare, and they've got the people around them they're bouncing ideas off of in this day and age, the climate we're living in. But sooner or later, somebody's going to say, well, we may not hear as much if we win. And our chances of winning are a lot better having this guy on our team, even though you even acknowledged last week, guy's not a good teammate. The guy is not a good teammate.
Yeah. Let's not worry about chemistry. You know, the Oakland A's back in those days didn't get along real well, and I don't think a lot of the Dodger players got along real well. I just think he's a guy. Okay, if I'm a general manager, what is my number one goal if I'm getting a team together, have a 25-man roster? It's to get me a number one starter, right? And that's Trevor Bauer. I mean, where can you find a number one starter for $750,000? I mean, I just shake my head. Can you imagine if this happened 20 years ago? Can you imagine 20 years ago and George Steinbrenner is the owner of the Yankees back then? Do you think George would have signed Trevor Bauer? But everybody, you said the culture, the mindset of people are scared, right? We got that woke crowd that got you, Tommy. You know, that's how it is. I mean, I hate to be so hard on this, but it seems unfair to me.
Well, I think it's going to be fascinating to see if somebody signs him, and equally as fascinating, how that team is prepared to handle the questions and how they're going to be prepared to handle everything that goes about it. Because the one thing about baseball, Tracy, you know better than anybody, you lived it for a long, long time as a player, is that baseball is every day. You know, football, you don't have access to the locker room like you do in baseball, right? You might have access to a player once or twice a week. Now, whether or not Trevor Bauer, if he signed, wants to engage in interviews and talk about this stuff, how they would handle that, all of that would have to be put together. But, you know, look, there's no dodging the fact. I remember when I was covering Pete through the whole thing, and you were back there in those days, through the whole thing in spring training. I was there every day. I've never seen anything like it down in when the Reds were still training down in the Tampa area or Plant City, wherever it was. The press was there in mass every single day.
It was crazy.
Crazy.
That brings back a lot of memories. You know, I was with the Giants at the time. I think I've told you that story. And Rod Beaton of the USA Today called me.
Yeah.
And says, you know, this with Pete, the allegations of Pete gambling. And he says, people say you know a lot about what's going on. Because I knew some of the same people. You know, I like Paul Jansen, I like Tommy Jose, I like Fat Mike Bertolini. And they say, what do you know about it? Is there something to it? And I said, I'm not going to talk about it. I would never sell a teammate, a manager, a coach. I wouldn't throw them under the bus. I'm certainly not going to throw Pete Rose under the bus, even if I knew something, which who knows what I know.
All right, let's shift gears here now. There have been a lot of recent developments here, Tracy, with your good friend and mine. Say good morning to the Ham and Eggers, Casey and Paul.
Hello, Tracy.
What's up, boys?
How's it going, Tracy?
Uh-oh. Whoa.
All right, Tracy, during the show today, we were talking before the show. Brandon Seho is going to the game, but he's going with family to the game, the Bengals and Bills in Buffalo.
Okay.
I asked Casey, are you going to the game? Because he's been going the last couple of weeks to the Bengals games, both against the Ravens, regular season and the playoffs, with the best man to be in his wedding. And I asked him, are you going up to Buffalo? He said, no, I'm not. Well, in almost the blink of an eye, since we have started this show today, he is now going to Buffalo with the soon-to-be best man in his wedding. And his bride-to-be wrote back, he's leaving me high and dry here at home. I assumed he was taking her along. Do you have any thoughts on that? Or do you think that's kind of setting a good tone early on? I mean, that argument could be made on this deal.
Is she listening right now, watching?
I don't know.
Probably.
Okay, here's the thing. She has nothing to worry about. You guys are going to Buffalo. Listen, there isn't, you know what a good-looking girl's called in Buffalo? A visitor. I liked going to Buffalo. Let me tell you this, guys. I was playing for the Denver Zephyrs, and we went to AAA, and I played in AAA, and I had a horrible series. We played against Oklahoma City, that's a Texas Rangers AAA club. Had a horrible series. I think I went like 5 for 15 with a couple stolen bases. Had a horrible series. And I said, you know what? I'm glad we're going to Buffalo. And Paul O'Neill says, why? He says, because I'm going to get me a good slump buster there. And I went there, got me a slump buster, and I must have gone, 10 for 15 in the series. So the point is, and it's not about me, it's about you, Casey. She has nothing to worry about. There's no good-looking girls in Buffalo. Do you know of one good-looking girl in Buffalo, from Buffalo, Doug?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
I think there are many good-looking women in Buffalo.
Oh, really?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I think there are beautiful women everywhere, inside and out. And I'm all about the inside part, Tracer. With their heart.
Me,
their
me
heart,
too, Tom. Me
their
too.
Soul, their head. See, you get the perverts in the room, right?
Yeah.
They go down a different trail. See, that's the difference, the generational difference, Tracy, between guys like you and me and these clowns.
Yeah.
I'm talking about their inside, their heart, their soul, their minds, their spirit. These clowns turn everything sexual.
Looks are secondary, way down in the totem pole.
I mean, these people on this chat, they are just, I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
What do they got?
It's a shame that Sharon's not here.
She's not here today. I don't know where she is. But Casey, any thoughts?
Well, there actually has been a development since the show started, Casey.
And what is that?
What, that I got tickets?
Yeah, you're going. You are going.
Yeah,
when the show started, we didn't have tickets. Now he's got tickets.
Yeah, I got tickets. Section 201, row 8. I'll see everyone there.
See, this is a problem.
Is that the second deck, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay, and you said row 8. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
What yard line roughly are you on?
We're on the end zone.
Okay, that's cool. Nothing wrong with that. I like end zone.
You're getting married. You're getting married. That kind of spending is reckless. Remember, you are just a poor bastard, right? You're just trying to get to that wedding, and you're out there spending on football tickets? In a
and the gas, Tracer, the gas in a hotel room going up to Buffalo. They're not giving gas away right now.
They're not giving anything away. Remember, inflation is coming down, but the CPI is still at 6.5. You know how Biden's economy was working for you, Tom?
Well, I
Casey,
mean,
just cancel the trip.
Tracy, he brings up a great Casey. He brings up a great point. You are spending a pretty penny. How much did the ducats cost you? Did you say?
Did the what?
The tickets. That is teaching Casey. Ducats is tickets. How much are those costing you?
With fees, it's like $200-something.
Okay,
like
so then you're gonna have to spend probably $110, $140, $150 for a hotel. You're going up Saturday, right?
No, we're leaving Sunday morning.
He's doing the whole thing in
the
one
whole
day.
In one day.
Okay, so gas is going to cost you a couple $100.
What about the strip bars going there? I mean, those girls, they're pretty inexpensive in Buffalo. I think you actually pay them to keep their clothes on, kind of like the BA here in Covington.
Well, I think the money thing, I've been doing really well sports betting. I'm gonna hit another parlay tonight, and I'll be fine.
Goodness.
Can you believe the way these guys, Tracy? I got in here today.
Oh no, here we go.
And I heard these guys talk. Okay, they're always talking about gambling. Okay, I have a lot of vices. Gambling is not one of them. Okay. But, look, I like listening to what these guys think about games. The conversation slips into these guys gambling on women's basketball, college basketball, and basketball being played professionally overseas. This is what these guys are spending their money on. You, as a financial advisor, would say what?
Well, I think that kind of spending, the spending on gambling, is reckless, and it's going to lead to problems pretty soon. This is what happens. Okay, that's a gateway problem here. So you're gambling. Next, you'll be drinking. Next, you'll be cheating on your wife. Next, you'll get a divorce. That's how this is going to play out for you, Casey. I already know your life. No, honestly, you guys can't be gambling like that. That's dumb. It's dumb. By the way, is it 5 points the Bills are giving up?
Yeah, I think it went up to 5.5.
According to Betfred, that is. According to Betfred. Tracy, Bengals are going to win that game this week.
No, not with that offensive line.
They're going to win the game. They are going to win the game this week.
Well, I'd like to bet you, but the last time I bet you, I lost with that Dallas kicker. I thought they were going to release him. It turns out they're going to let him kick, right?
I'm telling you, they are not going. Yeah, they're not. I mean, now if he stinks it up this weekend, if they lose, it doesn't matter. They're out. But if he stinks it up again this weekend and they win, his time might be up. But I bet you the guy bounces back. I mean, you got to root for a guy to
I bet he
bounce
doesn't.
back, right? I mean, come on.
I bet he doesn't. It's mental. It has nothing to do with physical. When you miss 4 PATs back to back to back, That's a mental thing. He's not going to be able to shake that. You know, we talked about this on Tuesday. Some guy having the thing, right? And he can't get it back. I mean, who was it? Mackie Sasser couldn't throw it back to the pitcher. Dale Murphy couldn't throw it back to the pitcher.
Steve Sack.
And you never shake it. Eric Davis made 53 errors in 60 games playing shortstop for the Eugene Emeralds. He couldn't throw the ball straight. I couldn't throw the ball straight. I was a third baseman. It's a psychological thing. You get the yips in golf, right? Players do. But, Tom, I just want to – is it all right, because it was a $5 bet, I've got a big container, like a can of pennies.
Yes.
There's a little over 500 pennies, and our bet was $5. Do you want me to – can I send that to you? The 500 pennies instead of $5? 500 pennies?
Yeah, well, hey, it all spends the same, brother. You know, you can go into one of those machines in your local grocery store now, just dump it all in there, and they spit out the cash.
Yeah, but they take a percentage on that.
Well.
They take like 12%. You don't want that.
It's still more than I had before the bet.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I was going to get you a Starbucks card, but it's I can't get anything that's $5 at Starbucks. Can we?
I'm not a Starbucks guy. Never have been. Never have been. Too acidic for my blood. And I love drinking coffee. I like UDF coffee.
I do too.
I always have it right here in front of me.
All the time.
Paul, what was the other topic we had that we were going to ask Tracy about regarding Casey?
I think that was what we were going to talk about. I think we were talking about the Bengals game. Was there something else? Casey, was there something we talked about?
There was something else.
I don't know. Brandon? I'm drawing a blank. I don't know. I think we covered it all.
Oh, my God.
You can ask me on anything. Paulie, what's your situation?
There was something else that came up today about Casey. Come on, Casey. What was it? I said, hey, let's file that away for Tracy besides going to the game. There was something else.
About him giving great advice out?
No. You know, I asked him, Tracy, you know, the question, all this advice that you've been giving to him, and I think that just about everybody in our chat that watches your show, everybody agrees, by and large, it is fantastic advice. The only issue might have been the coat check, since the wedding is in June. I don't know how many people are wearing a coat in June. But the parking thing I liked a lot. The flowers thing I liked a lot. There were a lot of things I liked in there. But I asked Casey, does he go home when they're hanging out, they're doing the laundry together, they're having dinner together, they're walking. Do you have a dog, Casey?
We do. We do have a dog.
Okay, so go out walking the dog, whatever it is. Are they actually talking about the advice that you're passing on? Because some days Alexandria can see the shows, other days she cannot. And Casey, you said yes, you do talk about it.
Yes,
Has there been besides the mother-in-law thing and the lingerie weeks ago, let's take that out of the mix, okay? Let's leave that alone for the time being. Is there anything that sort of hit a chord, wrong chord?
Well, let me just say, you guys obviously listen, and your fiance is very smart. I don't know about you, Casey, but I think the advice, and Thom, you agree with this, not having the open bar. You can just have wine and beer. And I think that great suggestion was for the flowers, just go to the cemetery. There's always fresh flowers there, and just scoop up those flowers that are on the gravesite. They don't need them. They're dead. And then take them and use those for your wedding.
Yeah.
Checks out.
Yeah, and she talked about possibly getting like dried flowers, like just going to the flower shop and just getting whatever they're.
We don't need real flowers. Real flowers are no, they're too expensive.
Isn't that going to like the cemetery and grabbing what's left over there? Just go to the flower shop, go dumpster diving, grab the flowers out. And...
Oh, well, that's not bad. That's not bad at all.
I remember one thing we were going to ask. Tracy, it's Chris Sabo's birthday today. Do you have any Chris Sabo stories?
You know, I was going to bring that up, and I kind of forgot to bring up Sabo. Sabo was a hell of a player, hard-nosed player, could steal bags. I played with Sabes probably 3 or 4 years, and I saw how he developed into a very good third baseman. Thom, and I know he did because he wasn't perfect, but I never remember the guy making an error. He was that good.
Yeah.
But he was hard-nosed. There was one time Sabe's got in a fight in our dugout with one of our own players, Delwyn Young. Now, you remember Delwyn Young.
Oh,
his kid
yeah.
ended up playing. Pretty good player. Little DY, we called him. He's in the locker room. So Delwyn, the dad, throws one from right field. This is just in infield practice. And freaking, he launches one. It kind of short hops Sabe. Well, Sabe just, olays it. Well, Delwyn comes off after. He says, why don't you catch the ball? And Sabe's friggin' cold cocked him right there, right in the dugout. I mean, it's like, it's your own team. Because Sabe was very intense, very good ball player, and a great teammate.
Yeah, and I always thought, Tracy, and I had said it before you came on when we talked about it being his birthday, is that I always thought, he's coached college baseball just recently last year at the University of Akron. He's been a minor league coach at times. I always got the feeling that the reason he never moved his way up in the ranks as far as professional baseball is concerned as a coach or a manager, which I thought for sure he was going to be one day, and maybe he still will.
Yeah.
He's still young enough where theoretically it could happen. I just always got the feeling, and I don't know this for sure, that he just doesn't want to play the political game that you got to play with a lot of these players in this day and age. You think that's fair to say?
I think that's perfect. Sabes is not politically correct. He isn't going to keep it real as they do. And he's going to tell you what he thinks. And he's very, very outspoken. You ask him a question, he'll tell you no lie. He'll tell you straight up what he thinks. And I think he'd make a great manager. He's certainly a good ball player, though.
No, there's
very good ball player.
All right, and happy birthday.
And listen,
to
hey, I know you guys probably think I give a lot of advice, right?
Yep.
And I'm just thinking, who in the hell are you, right? Just keep this in mind. I was studying in college psychology. Now, I could have been a psychologist. I also could have been a lawyer. I could have been an astronaut. I could have been a brain surgeon. All those things were too easy to be. I chose, and I told my dad, he says, nah. What you want to be is a Major League Baseball. I said, why? Because it's tough to be a Major League Baseball player. It's easy to be an astronaut, a brain surgeon, right? But to be a Major League athlete and Major League Baseball player and to play for 5 Major League teams. Can you believe that, Thom? 5.
Not many guys can say that, Tracer. 5 teams wanted you on their team.
Think about Barry Larkin, only played with 1, right? Tony Gwynn only played with 1. Cal Ripken, only 1. And I really thought that was going to hurt their Hall of Fame chances, only playing with 1 team. Didn't you, Thom?
I did, but somehow, some way, they managed to pull through and get enough votes. Right.
Tony Gwynn struck out. Listen to this. Last one, I'll let you go. Tony Gwynn struck out 3 times in a game once. Yeah. That's pretty good.
You got 10 guys doing that a week.
And yes. It struck out 3 times in a game. Another great guy. What a nice guy.
Oh, beautiful guy. No doubt about it.
Really
nice. Nice and sweet as they come. All
and
right,
I played against Tony
the
in
brain
college.
surgeon. What's that?
No, I was just going to say, I played against Tony in college. He wasn't even their top player. And, Thom, you're so good with names. It was at San Diego State. And Loyola would always come down and play San Diego State. But the number 1 player who went like 8th player in the country to the Yankees was a guy by the name of Bobby Meacham. Do you know that name at all?
Yep.
He was their top player. Tony just kind of developed into a great hitter, one of the best all time. But in college, he wasn't all that good. I mean, he went in the 4th round, I think.
Yep, I think you're right.
Yep.
And God rest his soul. Tracer, have a great weekend. When we have you back next week, we're going to be talking about the Bengals v. your Kansas City Chiefs for the AFC Championship game, a 2nd straight year.
I'm more worried about Karate Joe up there making that noise. He started at 8 o'clock. I like to go kick his ass, but he is a black belt. So he might be a real black belt.
You never know.
You never know.
All right, Tracer, have a good weekend.
All right. See you, boys. Take care.
All right, boys,
you,
before
Tracy.
we wrap it up, what do you think? We have a cherry on top today or no?
We do.
We do.
All right, let's have at it.
This is a McAllister special.
Oh, really?
Well, I think a lot of people are excited to see this. And if you haven't seen it, it is the Hubbard 100 mic'd up.
Oh, nice.
Oh, let's hear it.
And this is, he doesn't say much during it, but afterwards it's pretty great. So just everyone take a listen to this.
Okay.
At the end of the half.
Come out quick. Reaches. Oh, that ball's out. That's live. Left the other way. Sam Hubbard. The Cincinnati kid. He will score. I love you, boy. Oh. Can't catch me. Scared of getting caught. I was so scared of getting caught. I was so terrified of getting caught. I was like, he's on my ass.
That's great stuff. Great stuff. Going back to his lacrosse days, Sam Hubbard. He was the best lacrosse player in the state of Ohio at Boulder.
He didn't even want to play football, right?
Now, he had committed originally to play lacrosse at Notre Dame.
That's crazy to me.
And then that legendary story. It's one of the greatest stories of all time. Urban Meyer's a coach at Ohio State. He comes down to Moeller. He's recruiting another kid. He happens to be sitting in the gym. They're playing dodgeball in the gym, and he's watching this guy run around playing dodgeball. He says, "Who's that guy?" He says, "That's Sam Hubbard." He says, "Well, what's his story? I know he's a football player. I've heard the name, but what's his deal? What's he doing?" "Oh, lacrosse guy." "No, he's not." "No, he's not." And I remember the first game I went up to do, his freshman year, he had been redshirted. I've told the story before. I went up there. Urban's the coach. We're having the meeting before the game. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, by the way, how's the kid from Cincinnati doing, Sam Hubbard?" He says, "I have coached I don't know how many hundreds of athletes in my life from everywhere across the country." He said, "I've never had one time in my life coaches on the offensive side of the ball and coaches on the defensive side of the ball that are fighting one another to get us to make a commitment on what is going to be his long-term position." Because he's a redshirt now. He only weighed about 215, 220 pounds. He was a safety at Moeller in football coming out of high school. He wasn't a lineman, wasn't a linebacker. He's safety and the best lacrosse player in the state. So I said, "Well, what do you think's going to happen? Ultimately, it's your decision." He said, "I just have a feeling." He said that we get him in a weight room this year, the whole summer. Maybe the first year he can play next year, be a redshirt freshman. We could get him up to about 250. He said the next year I think we get him up to about 265. Next year we get him about 275, 280. He's a top 3-round pick in the NFL draft. Defensive lineman. Urban! Leader of men! Leader of men! All right, boys. Been a lot of fun. Case, great job.
Thank you.
So you're going to be here for the show tomorrow? You're not going to decide to blow out of town and go up and hang out in Buffalo for a couple nights?
No, I'll be here Friday.
Question is whether he's here Monday.
I'm going to try to
physically
make it
be
here.
That is a very good point.
He may physically be here Monday.
Whenever time I get home, you know what?
Casey, there's no chance you're here
I'm
Monday.
going to come in. I'm going to come in Monday.
If they win, you'll be here Monday. If they lose, take the day off.
No, I'll be here Monday. I'll be here Monday regardless.
Okay.
All right, boys.
Not
Paul,
too picky.
great job. Thanks.
Yep.
Brandon Seho, he'll be making his way up there to Buffalo, although he'll be leaving Saturday with that highfalutin crowd with his family.
Yeah.
He's spending a night probably at a Four Seasons or something like that. Do they have a Four Seasons hotel in Buffalo? Got a Westin? Which, by the way, just got bought out by Marriott. They own everything now. They own everything.
Get those points, baby.
They own everything.
Platinum.
They bought Ritz-Carlton. I don't think they have a Ritz-Carlton in Buffalo. All right. Boys, thank all of you for joining us. We'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Big day tomorrow. Our Friday leading up to the NFL divisional round of the playoffs. We'll see you tomorrow.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time, and if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
Hello, Reed.
Hey.
Hey.
Yeah.
Welcome
into
Not Too Picky, everybody. Paul Fritchner, Reed Mouse, Casey McAllister over there. We're going to have Mike Schmaltz on in a minute. Big show today. It's a Thursday like it usually is. We have college basketball. I'm doing a ladder challenge in college basketball.
1 for 7.
We're 1 for 1 right now. So not just college basketball, but a ladder challenge. Basically, you start with $20. You start with whatever you want. Usually you try to go about $20, $30, try to get to 1,000. It's about 7 picks in a row. Tried it. Started off with a winner yesterday. We'll roll it over. We have NFL picks to get to today. We have college basketball today. Casey is up 34 units combined in the last 2 days.
It's incredible.
And has not shared one pick with any of us.
Just takes them. And he's actually a curator. That's what he is. He's not. We throw out picks all the time, and he just takes our picks and curates. That's a good one, and then he wins. He just takes the winners.
Well, and that's the crazy thing is 2 nights ago we were putting together this crazy parlay. Brandon was putting together a parlay. Every leg hit except Clemson, which, to be fair, we told Brandon not to pick because Clemson was missing their point guard. Casey said, you know what, I'm going to be smarter than that. I'm not going to put Clemson in. And guess what? It hit.
Dude's a winner. That's all I know.
He wins. And you know what he wins on? You know what, like, realistically, you know what he wins on? Casey wins on the NBA, which none of us watch. I don't watch any. I've watched 4 minutes of the NBA this year.
So our system, I just put together a parlay from the system last night. Won. $120 winner on $10.
For the NBA?
Yeah, 5 pick.
It's smacking on the NBA.
Yeah, 5 pick winner.
I will say,
did you bet it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I really wanted to take your parlay because I
Buffalo.
I know.
It's close.
It was really close. But
you have another shot today.
I do have one more shot.
You're going to get one shot today. You probably can't do it. Can you do it tomorrow?
I don't know.
You probably could do it tomorrow.
I don't know.
But you got a good shot today.
I got one more shot.
So
6-legger.
So Casey is, yes, that is how he's affording the Bills and Bengals tickets, right? You're rolling over. That's good. Yeah. Take the sports betting and roll over some of those profits into a sports experience. That's good. I like that. That's what I did on Sunday.
Yeah, and
that's what we all did.
That's what we all did.
And the plan is to make enough money to cover the beer now. We're going to give out some winners on this show, and we're going to come up with a Buffalo Bills parlay so then you guys can go to Buffalo.
What do we think, before we get into the picks, what do we think the Bengals turnout is going to be in Buffalo on Sunday?
20%, 15%, something.
Whoa, really?
I think it's going to be decent. Do you think that's low?
No, I think that's high.
I think about 10, 15%.
Okay,
20% is probably a little
10.
too low. So, like, if there's a 70,000 person stadium, probably about 7,000.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Mike Schmaltz has popped up on the screen, and he is adorning a Sam Hubbard special.
No way.
No way. Look at this jersey that Mike Schmaltz is wearing. Casey, Or no,
I think they're
he's getting
still
them framed up.
While they get them framed up, I say this about the Buffalo parlay. So I put together a 6-leg parlay yesterday, and the efforts to try to get to Buffalo, make enough money to fund that trip, $20 6-leg parlay. One of my best friends took the exact same parlay, and I had Xavier in it. And he hates Xavier so much, he said, I'm taking the exact same parlay, taking out Xavier, and I'm putting in DePaul. Of course, that leg hit. So then he was 5 for 6, and it came down to Arkansas blowing that cover the final.
I sat here on the box
seconds.
lunch yesterday. I sat here on the box lunch yesterday, and I told everybody not to take that game. 1, because it was going to be terrible, and it was. And 2, because there's just 2 bad teams that you had no idea what was going to happen. It's at Missouri. Missouri's not terrible, but they've been sliding. They had a great start to the season. They've been sliding. Arkansas has completely fallen off. I don't know if Arkansas is going to make the tournament. They're number 25 right now, but they've lost 4 in a row, 5 of 6. I don't know if Arkansas is going to make the tournament. There's injuries to their 2 best players. Just a disaster of a game. And then you broke my heart when you told me that he had. Well, I didn't really care because he had DePaul in it, so whatever. That's his loss, or I guess his win. But the karma came back for him on the
Arkansas blowing a 10-point lead in the final 40 seconds.
All right, let's bring Mike Schmaltz into this. And I love what we got here. Every week, you just never know what Mike Schmaltz is going to wear on the program.
Now, this is the deal, man. This is from the 80s, right? 86 was my year.
That's a man of Moeller?
That's when they put the stars on the jersey. They got a little flack for that later on when they got a little worse. But, there was a lot of flack for that. So I just want Cincinnati to know that Sam Hubbard came from right here, okay? They produced the guy that made the play that advanced them in the playoffs this year. That's all.
Schmaltzy, how'd you do against Princeton back in the day?
Those were great games, actually. They were always fun. They were always like the last weekend of the year, and they were battles. Sometimes they were like in the freezing cold out there in beautiful Sharonville. I think our team did pretty well. Our senior year, we won the state. I didn't play. I just had the jersey because,
Whoa, yeah.
I was like 4'2", maybe 58 pounds. Wasn't good. That was with the pads. So it's a little small. Anyway, I think we did pretty well against Princeton. Those were always fun games.
Sam Hubbard, Mike Schmaltz, 2 most famous Moeller alum. Forget King Griffey Jr.
Yeah, just a
and Barry Larkin.
little bit far apart. A little bit far apart in years. But, you get it.
I like the number 9, the Joey B special.
Yeah, well, that's a coincidence. So I chose the number 9 because they were selling blank jerseys, and there wasn't a number 9 on the team. So I was trying to walk onto the field with the number 9 because there wasn't a 9. So that's why I took it. And now it just kind of worked out, that Joe Burrow worked into it. So fate has played a nice turn for that.
All right.
Love it.
I like it. All right, Mike, we have a huge weekend here. We have the NFL.
Huge.
We have a really good weekend of college basketball, too, especially on Saturday. Decent night tonight, not great. Some late night games, some Pac-12 games. But I know you got a lot for us. So what do you have?
I will give you one for today. My Queens Royals are getting 1.5 over North Florida. North Florida's gotten blown out in the last 3 games. Queens lost like 92-91. They've been scoring in the 90s and the 80s. I think that's a lock. Keep riding Queens.
Queens, baby.
First year in
Queens
D1.
Love the Royals.
Where is the game? Is it at does the location of that game matter?
Yeah. What are you asking?
Does that matter?
And then, just to make sure, Queens is not from Queens. It's
Queens, Carolina.
Queens, Carolina.
It's in North Carolina. I think it's like around Charlotte.
So it's in the Queen City.
Yeah. If it was in Queens, New York, the players would probably be better, right? Just take them right out of Queens.
Probably.
True.
Off the playgrounds.
True.
So, but yeah, I don't know that it really matters. Just the scores aren't very good for North Florida. So I think Queens getting 1.5 is a pretty good deal today.
So Nick Kirby is in the chat claiming that North Florida is a different team at home. Do you have any rebuttal to that, Mike?
I'm sure they play at home, and I'm sure it's the same guys that play on the road, so I'm not sure what that means.
Kirby is the man in our group chat about our Discord chat about just random basketball teams. Like you don't mess with the Stetson Hatters at home. You don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if he's got a rebuttal to North Florida, then I'd like to hear it.
Well, hop in the Discord, Mike. I know you're in the Discord. We got to get you in the Discord.
Yeah, I'm not in there much. You guys overflow me with technology.
That's true.
It takes us old people a little time to absorb it. It's kind of like calcium in your bones. You got to drink more when you're my age because it's got to sink in. It needs more time.
You're the class of 86. That ain't old.
Older.
Oh, okay.
I'm older than you guys.
Well, true.
Well.
How about that?
All right. How about that?
All right, you
How
want to talk
that?
about the Bengals?
Let's talk about the Bengals.
Let's take the 5.5. I got it at 5.5, and let's run with that. Okay.
Okay.
I know we're gonna have a little issue running the ball. Bills give up 104 yards on the ground, and they're 15th against the pass. They give up 215 yards a game.
Okay.
I think the Bengals got to pass, right? So I think the Bills are a little bit susceptible defensively than the Bengals are. And I know the numbers are different. Like the Bengals are lower ranked in the NFL in yards given up, all that good stuff, but they've been able to kind of hold some people down. So that's where I think the advantage is. How about that?
I am on the Bengals I'm on the Bengals money line with Betfred has given me a $50 bet credit. I am on the Bengals. I'm going to probably use that on the 5.5. I also have a little sprinkle on the money line at plus whatever it was, wherever I got it.
I love sprinkles.
Yeah.
We love sprinkling.
So just take that for what it is.
There's some good anytime touchdown stuff out here. Jamar Chase plus 125. T. Higgins plus 200. Boyd and Hurst plus 330. Nobody's covered Jamar Chase yet. On the other side, Stefan Diggs is plus 100. Josh Allen's plus 140. Quarterback sneak. I think here's a really good one. Nyheim Hines is plus 650. He does have a receiving touchdown this year. They've thrown it to him a couple of times. But remember, he was like a featured back in Indianapolis before they got him.
Yeah.
That could be one of those where you go into the game and this is something you haven't seen on tape all year, and they run a play for him, and he gets it.
Mike Schmaltz throwing out the plus 650, and it's just a thought. You're just sprinkling that. Are you going to – so that's just an anytime touchdown score?
Anytime touchdown plus 650. I think that's a chance. Yeah. And I know he returns kickoff. I'm not saying he's going to do that, but
Schmaltz, I got a prop question for you.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon's rushing prop is listed at 48.5. The Bengals run game has not been very good, especially ever since Joe Mixon got back in the lineup. And then the starting offensive linemen are obviously depleted. Do you like the under in that?
I kind of do based on the offensive line part of it. Buffalo gives up 104 yards rushing a game. They're fourth in the NFL. So I would think that if they give up the 104 yards, Mixon would at least have half of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
No doubt.
Like who else is going to – or P-Perine maybe. I don't know. But, yeah, with the line the way it is, I think the Bengals have kind of gone to the Tom Brady thing. Let's throw it 60 times a game and see what happens.
Sling it around.
Sling it.
You'd rather live and die with your quarterback than live and die on the ground.
Well, I think it's kind of where they are. I mean, that's what we've seen in the last couple of games, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Or maybe they come out and start blowing people off the line. But you've got, two new guys up there? I mean, they played before, but
right, two guys to the starting line. Right.
Yeah. Jackson Carman's the biggest question mark there, right?
Yep.
I don't know.
All right.
That sounds good. The under sounds good there.
What else around the rest of the weekend?
I went Dallas, San Francisco. I think the 49ers 3.5 is pretty good. Money line's 205. I like that. I just think San Francisco's defense is going to cause some trouble where nobody thinks Dallas is. And a lot of people are going to bet on Dallas just because they're Dallas, right?
Correct.
So that line might be just a hair off. Joey Bosa is going to be rushing. I don't know. San Francisco's looked really good.
I'm all over San Francisco this weekend. I don't want to spoil all my picks because I know we're going to do it tomorrow on Tom's show, but I will say I am all over San Francisco's show or San Francisco this weekend.
This is also coming off the heels of Dak Prescott's best game in his career. So you got to figure you're going to fall back to the mean, right? You're going to fall back to the average.
Thank you very much. He hasn't won the MVP yet. I do like these, though. Here's some anytime touchdown stuff. Christian McCaffrey, first touchdown is plus 500, the first touchdown of the game. That happened last week. He's a huge part of what they do, obviously. 150, anytime touchdown, minus 150. Kittle's plus 140. Elijah Mitchell's plus 240. I really like that one if they get close. And McCaffrey's, again, one of those things where you don't see it on tape. You're going to give it to Elijah Mitchell. He's a hammer on the goal line. Dalton Schultz on the other side, plus 250 anytime touchdown. CD Lamb, plus 155. Gallows, plus 350. He's third on the team. And then here's another one, Noah Brown. He's got 4 touchdown catches this year. He's plus 500. So there's some maybe value for the Cowboys that way. And I think they're going to be able to score, but I don't know if they'll be able to score enough.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
What about the two big games, or the two larger spread games, the Saturday games?
Duval. How about Duval? That was amazing last week. I didn't see it going that direction, but they did what I thought they would do. They actually won, so they covered that. What was it, 12 last week? So now it's 8.5.
Whoa.
This is gonna be hard. They do gain.
Wait, 12. Which game are you talking about?
They covered 2.
The Jags. The Jags were 1.5 last week.
They were 1.5 last week.
Yeah.
What game? Whatever. I got it.
They won the game.
They won.
Why you gotta bring that up?
Okay, go ahead. I just want to make sure we were talking about the same game.
Right. Yep.
It was coverage.
Coverage. You're right.
Coverage. All right, I got 8.5 this time. Am I right?
Yes.
They're plus 8.5.
Yes.
They do gain 358 yards of offense. They're 24th though against the pass in the NFL. They're 28th against the pass. They're 12th against the rush. So obviously the Chiefs are going to throw it. Chiefs defense, I don't like them either. They're 12th in the NFL, 330 yards a game. They give up 221 based on against the pass. They're 8th against the rush, 107. Travis Etienne in this one is minus 115 over 68.5. He's beaten that mark 3 of the last 4 games. Tennessee held him to 17 though. I don't know that the Chiefs again, kind of like Buffalo's defense, a little bit suspect. They give up plays they shouldn't. And if the Jags can find a little balance in the offense, and 358 yards is pretty good, I think I got a chance to hang in there against the 8.5. How about that?
Well, so we've been going back and forth on what we think about the Jags and the Chiefs. Casey is on the Jags train. He thinks the Jags are going to cover. I haven't made up my mind yet. I keep going back and forth on this because I do think the Jags are feisty enough to cover this, but the Chiefs, they just seem, especially with the week off and how good Andy Reid is off a bye. I was looking at a stat last night. I don't have it in front of me, but he has an incredible record off a bye.
I think the Chiefs are it's an unpopular opinion. I think they're the best team still in the postseason. And I think Trevor Lawrence let the light shine a little too bright on him in the first half of that game. And, of course, he roared back. But you're telling me a guy that looked very shaky for a half in his home stadium against the Chargers is going to play well in Arrowhead against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. I think I like the Chiefs to cover there. Yeah.
I think it'll come down to whether or not Jacksonville can run it, right? And just kind of control the clock, keep the Chiefs off the field.
They're going to have to shorten the
game.
But
again, so Etienne, I kind of like him over the 68.5. I know that's a lot. So if they are successful in running it, he would have those kinds of numbers. Anytime TDs, Kelsey is minus 145. Christian Kirk is plus 195, and Evan Ingram's plus 220. I think those are pretty good over there. Right?
Okay. All right.
All right, Giants-Eagles. This is a hard one. The Giants have they got scorched in the game with December 11th. It was just an absolute blowout. But they've been better defensively in the last 5 games. There's a tight one. They won against Baltimore. They're giving up like 20 points, 16 points in there. I think they got a shot against the plus 7.5. And we really don't know how well Jalen Hurts is going to respond here from this shoulder injury. I listened to a talk show yesterday. I think it was one of the ESPN guys. He's like, look, we're defensive linemen.
The enemy.
We know that this guy's might be injured. We're going to check his oil, which means they're going to kind of rough him up here to start the game. But Miles Sanders had a huge game in that first one. But the Giants have been a little bit better defensively in the last 4 or 5. So I think they got a shot at covering the 7.5. What do you think?
Danny Dimes. I'm all in on Danny Dimes. I don't know how I found myself here, but I am here, and I can't back down now. So I'm in on Danny Dimes, and I think they do cover the 7.5 this weekend probably.
All right, let's go.
I think I'm on the opposite side, guys. I'm sorry. I think I'm on the opposite side. Now I will say this, dollar in the jar. is that the Eagles had a lot of success this year running these QB sneaks. Jalen Hurts, I mean, they pretty much perfected it. They almost doubled QB sneaks compared to everyone else in the league. 3rd and short, 4th and short, give it to Jalen Hurts, let him get it the first down. Banged up shoulder, I don't know if they can convert those short 3rd down. That definitely takes a big play out of their playbook because I don't know if they're going to do that as much. I think it's still on the table, but I don't know how that shoulder is going to affect that. They don't want to bang him up too badly. So that is something that scares me. That being said, I mean, the Eagles were a wagon all season long, so I know we haven't seen them with Jalen Hurts in a while, but I still like the Eagles at home here.
Yep.
Defense very good, but Saquon Barkley didn't play a whole lot in that first game. Like he was just coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And he's looked very good the last couple weeks too. So there's another thing that the Giants didn't have really full strength the first time they played.
No doubt.
Yeah. What else you got for us, or is that it?
That's where I expended my energy this morning. So
All
I
right.
mean, I did a lot of work. I mean, I lost some weight like on the ears because there was a lot going on up here today.
Well, hopefully we can turn some of that into some green, and then when the Jaguars beat the Chiefs and the Bills lose to the Bengals, then we can use that profit and get you down to Paycor next week.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm in.
How's the Porsche looking?
Yeah.
Well, we're funding it. We're on the way to funding it. I mean, it's going well. We're still above water here.
Have you ordered
now
it?
Now we're getting into a lot of the free bets are gone now, so I'm getting into the real money.
Yeah.
Providence did me dirty last night, though.
Paul needs a car, so you guys just going to split the Porsche?
I know. Well, yeah, we could. We can make an arrangement. I mean, he lives very close to where I work, so maybe he could drive it, have somebody drive it back, and then I could use it during the day, park it here, and he could come and get it.
That's a good deal. All right.
How about that?
We'll work it out.
Logistically, it makes sense.
I'm a collaborator. Boys, I'm a collaborator in heart.
Yes, you are.
Collaboration. And that also rhymes with coverage. Which way am I supposed to?
All right, Mike.
Okay.
Man,
all right, guys. Let's have a weekend. Queens.
Let's do it.
All right.
Queens. Sam Hubbard.
Queens.
Sack on Sunday.
Stars on the jerseys. Let's go.
A man of Moeller.
See you next Thursday, Mike. All right.
He's the best.
Love Mike.
I didn't know he was a man of Moeller, though.
He is a man of Moeller.
I love that about him.
Love me a man of Moeller, and that is Mike.
You would be a man of Moeller if you grew up in this area.
You know, I've gone back and forth on that because a lot of my family went to Moeller. I do have some cousins now that are going through St. X. I don't know what I would have been.
He would have been one of those two. You don't strike me as a LaSalle or an Elder guy. You're not a West Sider.
And geographically, I would have been Moeller or St. X, but I don't know where I would have ended up.
You would have been at Baden.
Would have been at Baden. That's actually, that's probably true. I would have ended up out here at Baden. All right, so let's do college basketball. We've checked all the boxes there with the NFL, unless there's anything that we didn't talk about there.
Well,
with the
one thing that I really like in the NFL this week, so I mentioned that I like both heavy favorites to cover outright. I'm going to take both those games. But also, as a bigger play, I'm going to tease both those games down. So looking at those spreads, you're going to basically get it at the money line at that point. So you're teasing the Chiefs down to 2.5. So I guess that's not quite the money line. They got to win by a field goal. And you're teasing the Eagles down to 1.5. That juice is minus 120. I like that a lot. I think if I have a play this weekend, that's going to be my biggest play on the two Saturday favorites. For the Sunday games,
just enjoy the games, man.
Yeah,
Sunday's going to be awesome.
They're a feel. I'm going to bet the Bengals because I refuse to bet the Bengals.
Yeah, I'm already in on the Bengals. Well, that'd be a situation where you're just not betting. If you don't think the Bengals are going to cover, you just don't bet. You don't bet on the Bills. Sir Boy Wonder, Paul and Reed, do the Bengals and Bills both score over 21.5? I think they do. I think they do. I would feel better if it was 20.5.
Here's a question. Have the Bengals won a shootout with Joe Burrow? Have they won a shootout? More often than not, and this is just going to what everyone says about our team. Oh, we have all these offensive weapons, and every once in a while we explode. And I use the royal we as a Bengals fan. But it feels like anytime that we have an important game, anytime the Bengals play a really good team, it's a low-scoring affair.
Well, think about they beat the Chiefs 27-24. The Bengals
that's about as shootout-y as it gets.
The Bengals have only scored in this winning streak less than 20. Or less than 21.5 once. It was against the Titans, the game you were at. They scored 20. Otherwise, they've cleared 21
in
every game. They only scored 22 against the Patriots. but they have cleared 21 in every game since then, including last week. They scored 24. They haven't had a huge margin for error. I mean, you're looking at the Browns game. They scored 23. Patriots game. They scored 22. Ravens game last week. They scored 24. You're not looking at they scored 37 against the Steelers, but the Bills are not the Steelers. So
the thing I will say about this, gosh darn it, dollar in the jar, is that there's going to be a lot of opportunities to score. We saw in the Bills-Dolphins game that each team had over 15 different possessions. The game isn't going to be shortened like it was against Baltimore. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to score. So over 21.5, it's not a bad play. Not a bad play for both teams.
Anything? I see you're cooking up a parlay. Do you want to get that? Is this?
No, I'm not. Betfred does a nice thing. It just gives you a parlay and says, "Here, take this."
Okay.
We got some boxing in there and some soccer.
Casey, we'll get to you in a minute because I'm going to put you on the spot. You gotta share something with us, Casey. If you're up 33 some units, have you? Oh, okay.
Tonight, college basketball wise, I've bet it the last 4 times they played. I'm gonna bet it again because it's one. It's got to lose at some point, but I'm gonna ride this gravy chain until it loses. And that is UCLA unders. They have not scored a combined. They have not gone over 140 points in like 7 straight games. So I think the line's probably right around 135. Let me get the exact
and Georgetown
bet
first half. Who's George? Oh no.
They play on Saturday.
They're playing Xavier. Yeah, Georgetown first halves have been almost automatic this week or this season. They play great in the first half, and then second half they kind of wilt.
UCLA plays a better team tonight too.
Arizona State. Yeah,
Arizona
and that's
State
in Tempe. I'm on that under though. I'm riding with you.
Yeah,
I love me some late night.
130, 134. Mick Cronin. That was the complaint when he was at UC for over a decade, is they don't score enough. You watch this UCLA team, they're very, very good, but they're often low-scoring games that often end up in the 50s and or low 60s. 134, like I said, it's hit 4 straight times. It's got to lose at some point. I'm just going to keep betting it until it doesn't lose.
Fox Sports 1. Yeah. Cooper Ledford. Coop, my Jeep did make it to the office today. I think I have resolved myself to needing a second opinion because I am so overwhelmed trying to look at all these different car makes and models, new, used, what year, reviews, what can I afford, what can't I afford. I think I'm just going to take a second opinion and see if I can maybe like fix the bare minimum and buy me another year on what I'm driving right now. But I don't know if I can do that because it's bad. My miles per gallon have gone down 6 miles per gallon in the last 2 weeks. So something is very wrong. I'm at 16 miles to the gallon right now.
How many gallons does it? How much is a full tank of gas cost for Jackie?
I paid like 75 the other day.
75, because my truck is like 90. If I fill it up, it's 25-gallon tank, and every time I fill that thing up, I think a little less that maybe they didn't perfect transportation with the 2010 Silverado 1500 Z71.
Extended cab.
Extended cab. Don't want the crew cab. Too many doors.
So I did look at the CRV. I haven't test driven one yet. I haven't sat in one yet. I've looked at it. The RAV4 wasn't that comfortable. I'm a tall guy. I need leg room. And
lanky.
Yeah, I am very tall, very lanky. It was okay, but the seats were a little stiff. And I drive so much. I need comfort. That's one of the things. I'm not very picky, as we know by the name of this show.
Not too picky.
Not too picky. I don't have a lot of things. I won't. The only thing I said was I don't want a red car. I don't like the color red. Didn't want a red car, but I don't know. Maybe it was just bad. Maybe I fixed the angle of the seat. And I only drove it for like 20 minutes. I'll try out the CRV.
You got any picks?
Yes. Okay. So UCLA, the under tonight. I like Illinois. I know that's against your Hoosiers.
Yeah, I like Illinois as well.
I like Illinois. Ken Pom
stink.
Yeah, Indiana's trending in the wrong direction. They beat a beat-up Wisconsin team by a lot on Saturday, but I don't know if there's much you can read into that. Illinois is going back in the right direction after a weird stretch in December where you weren't sure what you're going to get out of them. They got blown out by Northwestern. It was a weird December for Illinois, but they're back on the right track. They've won 4 in a row. I know that's not over great competition, but I still think that the Fighting Illini at home can get the 6.5 done. I have not picked my ladder pick of the day yet. You can go to TikTok for that. Probably wait until maybe 3 o'clock, 3 or 4 o'clock. Let some more data come in on that. I like Illinois, like I said. There was one other one that I liked tonight. I'm looking at the bottom of the screen. I don't know if I'm trying to find it. Go
so
ahead.
you're a basketball guy.
Yeah.
Rutgers plays Michigan State tonight at 6:30, the opening game. So Michigan State has lost 2 barn burners. I will call them barn burners. They were very closely contested, very physical games as Michigan State plays in a row. Illinois last Friday, and then they lost to Purdue earlier this week. They play a good Rutgers team at home, but this is their 3rd game in 6 days, and the first 2 were very intense.
Take Michigan State. Rutgers has never won at Michigan State since joining the Big Ten.
All right.
So I think that, I don't know how much I always read into like those wild trends because you can always buck the trend.
Sure.
But I think more so than that, Rutgers has been they've been playing a lot of games. Michigan State's gone. They've had a roller coaster of a couple of weeks. So that's just a couple of things to look at there. Casey, what are you cooking up for me?
All right, so first off, I'm gonna give a NBA pick, just a game pick, and then I'm also going to give a parlay for Saturday. The parlay for Saturday, I'm gonna give out 6 picks.
Okay.
You guys are gonna choose what you want to put in this parlay. Okay.
Okay.
So it's a choose your own adventure. It's a choose your own adventure parlay.
Choose your own adventure.
Okay.
Travis Etienne, anytime touchdown score. This is the one that I'm not super confident on because I bet this 3 or 4 times in a row and it has not hit.
Let's do.
Okay. Travis Kelce, anytime touchdown score.
Okay.
All right. Patrick Mahomes, under 319.5 yards.
Okay.
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence, 225.
Don't let your Patrick Mahomes take cloud your judgment when betting.
That's not. 319 yards is a lot.
That is a lot of yards.
225 yards over for Trevor Lawrence, passing. Jags over 20.5 points. Kansas City under 33.5 points.
Okay.
What are those odds?
Choose your own adventure.
That is plus 2,000.
Get you to Buffalo. Gets you to Buffalo.
But I gotta have the money before Saturday.
Oh, you got to hit it today. You got to hit it today.
Today's the last chance.
Today is the last chance at the Buffalo parlay for Reed Mouse.
Yep. Case.
Let me give out my NBA pick real quick. I'm just deciding between.
He's got.
There's Trace's system. There's a big play early on in the day.
Ooh.
I know, but I can't take that. I'm not taking the Pistons ever.
You're not taking the bad boy Pistons against the Bulls?
Why not? Did they hurt you?
Yeah.
What happened?
Why don't you like the Pistons?
What happened to the Pistons, Casey?
It's the Pistons. They stink.
Casey, the Bulls aren't great either.
Yeah, what? The Bulls suck.
Hey. Be careful. I like
you a big Bulls guy?
Chicago, come on.
True.
I would rather go with Chicago there than anything. I would go against the system. Even though it's screaming at me, I would rather take Chicago there and just be wrong. But tonight I'm actually going to take Toronto.
Okay.
In this one.
Okay.
And that's -5, I believe. I'd have to check
Pistons
that
money
here,
line, is that what we're doing? When does
Pistons.
that game when do they play?
3.
They play at 3 o'clock?
Yeah, they play at 3 today.
Oh, we're all over that game.
We're going to have it on in the office.
Yeah, we'll bet that game for sure.
This is a trap game for the system. That's how I feel about it. It's
a trap game for the system.
Yeah, trap game for the system.
System has feelings. Just know
it
that,
does.
Casey.
Trap game for the system. Casey, Patrick Mahomes has passed over 316 yards in every week since week 5, but 2.
I know. Well, I just have that much faith in the Jacksonville Jaguars to get it done.
One of his best passing performances came against the Jacksonville Jaguars, where he threw 331 yards and had 4 touchdowns.
Yep.
And a passer rating of 129, his best game of the year.
They were a different team back then.
Darn right they are.
Darn
right they are.
A different team.
Let's
now.
host.
Let's go.
Let's beat the Bills. Let's have the Jags beat the Chiefs. I'm gonna bet the Chiefs, but have the Jags beat the Chiefs, and then we bring it on home for the AFC Conference Championship.
100%, Reed. Let's do it.
Let's go. Have a great weekend, everybody. Who Day. We'll be back on Tuesday. Actually, we're gonna do this on Tuesday. Tuesday's the only day that we don't have a second show, so we're gonna start doing this instead of Mondays with box lunch and everything kind of getting pushed around. We're gonna do this on Tuesdays, and that sets you up for Tuesday and Wednesday college basketball too. So we'll start doing this on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Mike will be back Thursday, but Tuesdays we'll do our regular show. Have a great weekend, everybody. Who Day, and hopefully we're talking about a Victory Tuesday.
I'll put out the Buffalo parlay later.